Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time to join us. This is Sound Candid Talk, open forum political discussion show. The show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. Well, today and in this particular season, the cats are being laid out of the sack in broad daylight. All that has been fought all this time and claimed is now confirmed on how Raila Odinga wins elections and the loser is announced as a winner. The media guru, SK Macharia, today spilled the beans on how the 2007, 2013, 2017, and 2022 elections were rigged in favor of the inferior candidate, leaving Raila Odinga the winner with nothing. Now, this is very significant, and especially from the revelations that there are 1.8 million dead voters still in the IEBC register, and those are the ones that are used to rig elections. He says the philosophy or the claims of the tyranny of numbers has now a new twist to it. We have tyranny of dead voters in the IEBC register. And so as we clamor for clean Kenya, truthful Kenya, just Kenya, we must come to terms with what we are dealing with in respect to the injustices that has been adduced in the past and why some people in this country would not allow a free and fair elections to take place. What is at stake? Why is that the case? We need all to come together and reason, because the way our country is being run and the way things are looking, nothing is promising at all. And if we don't do something in good time, we may just end up losing this country completely. Well, as we start the conversation, I appreciate all of you that are joining. Please, as soon as you get us, help somebody to find us. Apologies for starting late, but I believe you are able to get us loud and clear. Let us know where you're watching from. And of course, we need you to be an extension of what you're doing right here, right where you are. We're here to soberly engage as mature people who seek the best of this country and find a lasting solution to our perennial problems. Why is it so much a risk to allow free and fair elections to take place in Kenya? And if you must rob somebody, why rob him of victory 4 times? Ladies and gentlemen, I salute each one of you. Please make effort and get into the studio. The link to use is already in the comment section. Let us reason together. I think this is too much. The issue of dead voters and, of course, every other thing. Raila Odinga throwing his voice on the matter. He says the only free and fair elections that have ever taken place in this country was 2002. The rest have been games. The rest have been adding up of figures, manipulating the results to make the loser a winner and the winner a loser. I want to thank everyone. Esther Stoll, I salute you. Thank you for the show. Tunim Hamud, our PS, Karibu kwa show. Asante sana, MNA, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. I call upon everyone, please, let's call in as many as possible as we start this conversation and look at it keenly. What is wrong with Kenya? What is wrong with free and fair elections in Kenya. I know there are those gathering and throwing claims and counterclaims, but there is something very wrong with our country. And until we come to terms with that, I think we are lost completely. Well, let's start with that story of these particular revelations. And then, of course, we dive deep into the conversations. Different people have given different views. And then, of course, there is the issue of the Supreme Court. Lenaola says touching the Supreme Court is destroying the whole of judiciary. Do you agree with him? Kalonzo says Ruto's taxes are too high and burdening Kenyans. And then, of course, Raila throws in that twist of Ruto must go, and then what? A question that we must find an answer to. Are we going to fix Kenya's problems by getting rid of Ruto? After that, what do we do to make sure that Kenya gets fixed and Kenyans don't continue suffering? Let's hear out that story as we start the conversation. SK Macharia, please, let's make effort. Karibu kwa show kila moja. Usicheze mbali, cheza karibu. Tukaongee masuala haya kwa kina. Njia ya kwanza ya kutafuta suluhu kwa swala ni kulizungumzia. Dawa ya kwanza kwa tatizo lolote ni kulizungumzia. Lakini tuanze na kukubali kwamba kuna makosa mahali. Kuna wale ambao wanaamini kwamba hakuna vile hii nchi inaweza kutawaliwa ama kuongozwa isipokuwa hao. Na naamini hapo ndio kisungumkuti kipo. Karibu kila moja, tukazungumze wazi wazi. Let's hear this. Never hear about these things again.
Kinara wa chama cha ODM Raila Odinga amejitokeza na kudai kwamba ni uchaguzi mmoja pekee wa mwaka 2022 uliokuwa halali, kwamba ameshinda chaguzi nyingine alizowania urais na kukosa kutangazwa mshindi. Odinga alikuwa akizungumza kwenye mazishi ya rubani James Gitahi huko Maanzoni kwenye kaunti ya Machakos. Pia alichukua nafasi hiyo kumtetea Rais William Ruto kuhusiana na msukumo wa kumuondoa mamlakani, akisema kwamba hakukuwa na haja ya kumuondoa Ruto ilhali hakuna mpango wa kuliendeleza taifa.
I come from Murang'a, Your Excellency, the Prime Minister, where SK Macharia comes from. For the sake of SK Macharia, who has really wanted to see you become president, you can only become president if you run in 2027. Gachagua is ready to support you. If you support Ruto, you will have to play second fiddle. You will frustrate our honorable SK Macharia. Support Rigathi, Kalonzo, and you will be president.
Prime Minister, thanks to your wisdom that you consulted with the people who have always stood with you, and you made certain decisions that you have placed this country on a particular path. Many may not agree with you. There are some that agree with you. But I believe, like SK has told us, at the age of 80 plus, you get the license to make certain decisions which young men like us cannot make. So we stand in accordance to the wisdom that you have taken.
What is important that Kenya remains together. Hakuna haja ya kusema Raila asimame na June 27. Kama 27 hiyo Kenya itafika pale kama imechomeka. Kenyans need to live between now and 2027. Hatuwezi kupiga siasa miaka mitano yote mfululizo. Nchi haiwezi kuendelea mbele. Manake mkaweka nchi katika hali ya campaign, kelele mingi zaidi. Kuna kazi inafanyika. Mpaka kuwe na wakati ambaye kazi inafanywa. Alafu baadaye tunarudi tena kwa campaign. Si namna hiyo. Si namna hiyo. Hiyo ndio mimi najua, ndio sababu tunaona baba ako hapa na mimi nilisema, niliuliza wa Kenya kama mnataka niendelee. Wakaniambia endelea. Baba endelee si endelee? Endelee si endelee? Sasa umesikia? Wamejibu wewe jamaa.
Naibu gavana wa kaunti ya Kakamega Ayub Savula sasa ameonya vikali viongozi wanaopanga kumbandua ofisini spika wa bunge la kitaifa Moses Wetangula, akisisitiza kwamba viongozi
haya mambo ni kama hayo. Nashukuru kila mmoja, naomba tafadhali tumakinike kukaribishana tunapong'amua haya ambayo yamejitokeza hii leo. Nashukuru kila mmoja. Toa hoja yako ukasikike, tuambie unatupata ukiwa wapi. Kama kuna mushkili tutarekebisha. Nashukuru kila mmoja, naomba tafadhali tukue mstari wa mbele. Mama, habari ya leo?
Salama Penat, lakini umeruka swali nyeti ilitolewa na SK Macharia. Hapo ndio mahali mambo iko ya 207, 97, 2013, 2017, 2022. Pile kura silipikwa, na nimekuwa nikiwaambia Penat hata kabla hatujaenda kura ya 2022. Niliwaambia example ya Biwot tukiwa Kasarani kama watu ya KANU, nikawaambia kuna kompyuta mara mbili. Kuna ile iko na majina yenu, mnaona kama delegate mimi niko. Mkiondoka inatolewa. Leo Macharia Penat amesema kitu ya muhimu sana, ya kwamba hii kura ililetwa kura ya watu wamekufa bila picha, ikaingizwa, na hiyo ndio imekuwa ikirotate. Na akasema alijaribu kuambia Raila ati siku moja, baba, usikubali twende utupatie tutengeneze register. Na akasema walisema wako TB state. Na akasema Ruta akauliza TB state kani. So Bernard, tukisikiza hiyo, na ndiye nimesikia channel mingi sana saa hii watu wanasikia mbaya sana, kwa sababu the truth, huyo msee amesema ako 84 years. What much can you do for him now? Rafiki yake amelala, na walikuwa wamekubaliana ya kwamba mwingine akikufa mbele ambia Wakenya ukweli. Vile Kibaki, na alisema yeye ndiye aliitwa na alikuwa anaipa kura ya Raila kabisa yeye mwenyewe. So ukituwekea speech ya Macharia ukiwa na time, Wakenya watafurahi sana juu kuna watu wamesikia mbaya, na we umeanza kusema kweli. Kuna watu wanafikiria they have to be, lazima wakuwe president, lakini moyo na huruma ya Raila, na hata yeye amerudia, yes, ananyang'anywa, lakini mwisho kwa sababu amepigania demokrasi na amepigania hiyo yote, ati wangesema ngwe, ndio inafanyanga hata akinyanyaswa anaona nchi yetu iendelee. Na hata sasa anasema mkishatoa huyo Ruto, Kachako mulitoa, ikuje Kindiki, mtoe Kindiki ikuje mwingine. What will happen? Badala ya sisi tukae chini, turekebishe mambo ya Kenya, tufanye kazi na Wakenya ili ikifika 2027. So anauliza, mnasema Ruto must go where? Na nini ifanyike? Jeshi ichukue ama nini? Kwa ingawa hakusema na mdomo yake, but aliuliza maswali nyeti. Na mimi kwangu Penat, Wakenya wametutout. Wakati watu wengi wamesema Raila amechukua, amechekewa, na kuna watu wamekuwa lakini Macharia leo, Mungu ambariki na ampatie miaka mingi, kwa sababu yeye alisema 2.5 years to election, ajui kama atakuwa uwai, lakini namuombea aishi siku mingi, kwa sababu amehusika akiipa kura na amehusika akisema ukweli. Na ukipata chance utuweke hiyo, kwa sababu najua watu wengi hawatakubali tukiongea hivi, wanaona kama hatujui chenye tunafanya. Na Raila amesema hawezi wacha nchi yenye amepigania aone ikianguka. So kuenda kufanya kazi kwa serikali ni kusimamisha nje, si kusaidia Ruto. Ikifika 2027 anybody can run for election na Wakenya wachue. Na nikashukuru yeye amesema hapo, sababu kuna senator ya Murang'a huyo anamwambia Raila usiposimama. Amekuwa akisimama mara 5 na hakuna mtu amempigia kura, kwani sahi akishikana na Gachagua ndiana, si wale walisema apati ni the same people. So mimi Bernard nimekuwa nikipika nduru hapa nikisema IEBC Secretariat. Sasa leo tumejua muhimu ya kura. Amesema wale 4 commissioners Macharia aliwaita awakaonyesha the truth, mali iko na vile kura itaenda, and it came to pass. So Kenyans, wakati tunapopata IEBC penalty, kwa sababu sasa from what we are talking now, tunataka kushikia hapo mahali Macharia ametuambia shida ya Wakenya ni wapi, si kupiga kura. Shida iko IEBC, shida iko kwa register penalty, na wameweka watu, na hiyo sasa mpaka hiyo ikue clean, hiyo Kamango na group yake itolewe tuanze fresh, na hiyo fresh, na ndio wana delay, they know wana delay, ili wakati tunataka kusema tuanze clean register, we don't have enough time, na kumbe kuna kura simewekwa. Hata vile wanalia Ruto must go where? Kweli anaenda wapi kama kumbe nyungu ile inapiga kura ama yenye register yenye inafanya sisi tupige kura penalty iko full. Mwenye alituambia kura imepikwa ya 2027 kumbe alisema ukweli. That Kamango is on the wako kasini. Ni kulete 2 commissioners, and now because yesterday niliona wale watakuwa commissioners they are friendly na rais ya Kenya. So tena wa Kenya tutakuja hapa tulie, ile kitu nasema tu baba amefanya ya kutosha, atusaidie, lakini kudanganya na kusema kuja shikana na fulani, kuja shikana na fulani, walidanganya Kalonzo. Si baba ametanganya Kalonzo. Baba wakati alienda OAU penalty aliwacha Kalonzo kama ni principal ya Azimio. What happened? Kalonzo abandon principal akakimbia JNC, akufaidika, alichukuta sasa ako ndani ya Gachagua wamekuja, akatembea na Kioni ndio hiyo amesema presidential candidate yao ni Matiang'i. Kalonzo ndio hiyo aonekani. Haya, Gachagua awasemi Kalonzo, wanaongea mambo yao. Kama Kalonzo angesimama kama samani, pengine mambo ingekuwa tofauti. So Bernard, tukiendelea na hiyo yote umetuonyesha, hiyo ni mzuri. Patu ile ya Macharia alikuwa nafinywa na bibi yake ama na nani kwa mkonga, anasema wacha kunishika, nitasema yote. Hebu tuwekee penalty please. Thank you.
Sawa, tutaweka kwa sababu ni ndefu. Nilikuwa nataka tuongee kiasi kwanza kabla tuweke. Tutaweka, it's about 23 minutes, so we'll play it in beats, but before we get there, ladies and gentlemen,
ukate mara mbili ama 3 ndio tupate starting point. Unajua sasa umekutia nyuma.
No, bado tunaelekea huko na tutafika tu. Naomba tafadhali karibisha mtu, like video, piga kura yako. Unaamini kwamba Raila ameshinda na akanyang'anywa wakati huu wote kulingana na information ambayo SK Macharia ametoa? Piga kura yako ya yes au ama no kwa Sound Candy Talk live. And then of course we need you to subscribe. If you have not subscribed, give our videos a thumbs up. It is important. It helps us with our ranking. We also want to encourage you, please, if you can join as a member of Sound Candy Talk, do so. It helps a great deal. That's one way of supporting this particular channel. Now, as we dive into the conversation, we'll be looking at that aspect of the elections. And the impunity around it, because from what SK Macharia revealed today, is impunity. That Raila was leading by over 1.8 million against Kibaki. And then all the returning officers in Mount Kenya were held in one place, and the papers they were bringing with the results were taken from them, and figures were changed before those results were delivered to Kiwitu at KICC. And so this comes as a revelation that the rigging of the elections is not an accident, and the failure to make Kenya move forward by maturing democratically is also not an accident. It's been designed to go that way by reason of embracing impunity that makes the winner the loser and the loser the winner. I need to hear your take from wherever you are. And please let me know where you're watching from. Thank you so much as you join. Namuona supervisor amefika na kofia ya chama. Hali vipi supervisor?
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can get you. Go ahead.
I've just received my bunch of chapati, so nilikuwa najaribu kumalizia. Sasa hii chapati ni mingi. Umepata mashini.
Utapata fungu la 10 la 1 million.
Unaingia tu town, unaingia kwa mashini, unachukua chapati 5, 4, alafu unatengeneza breakfast. Anyway, for more serious matters now, tuache mambo ya machapati. I'm happy to be here. You know, sometimes tumekuwa watu wa kusikiza sasa ground. Kenya I think imekuwa nchi ya vituko. So we just to listen and observe as we wait to see what happens to Kenya. What was really moving me today is this woman who seems to have been used to very drugs to Vietnam, and it is unfortunate that the government of the people, of the hustlers, cannot intervene. But now we are counting hours before our dear Lady Duta is given the last meal and executed. It is unfortunate. If what you have seen is true, which is true because I think she has no record of traveling a lot, she might have been duped, which can happen to anybody, and we're told to there is a job opportunity in Vietnam, but go with this suitcase. And then I think 2 kgs of coke was found in her suitcase. It's unfortunate that we have not seen any serious response from the president on the matter. But we expect that from him. Yeah, I think he is a person who fakes to be a person of the people, and people have now realized that he's just a pretender of the throne. And the other issue is Raila joining Ruto in this government. I think if I was Raila, I would do the same, Bernard. I'm a firm believer that you cannot dislodge this government from outside or any other government. Sijui kama umeshaisoma kitabu ya Troy City, the Trojan horse. Kuna city ilikuwa inaitwa Troy in history, whereby it was so, in fact the words were like it was impregnable. You could not have destroyed it from outside. It was so fortified, the walls, that for you to enter it could have been hard. But there is this king who devised a method of entering the city, and he came with a gift. By then, you remember, it was the days where people were worshipping everything, worshipping the sun, other worshipping the horses. So he brought them one of the gods, which was the horses. But it was so huge, they had to open the gate and then put it in the center of the city so that people can worship it. But in the process, kumbe ndani, there were almost 100 soldiers who were sent there, so that their duty is to make sure that once you are inside, you can open the doors to your other soldiers and bring down the city. I think that's the same principle. It's a political principle that Raila is using. Raila knows if he could have come and started fighting with Ruto, he could have just made him stronger. We have seen what happened with the past presidents when they are shaken. You make them stronger and become more dictatorial. But I think Raila knows that if I am inside the government and I eat in the government, I spy the government, then in a year's time, 2027, huko mwisho, he will bring down the government. I think that is his strategy, because I have seen him sending mixed reaction. First of all, he says it is Ruto who came to him, not the other way around. And then he says, raisi ni kibogoyo. Leo he said that hana meno, hana nini. You see, at the same time he's saying he cannot. So if you look at that kind of a person, he's a very, very dangerous person to accept as a friend. So he has not come out straight and supported Ruto. And I think it's a strategy that he's using so that eventually he'll go to factory setting and say, somebody tosha. So having observed the politics of Kenya, I can tell you, like what happened in 1997 is exactly, nothing is new. It is history repeating itself. And I think it's a prayer of everybody that he does that, because what we have realized with Ruto is that he's inept. He's very emotional, petty. If you can start mocking the Gen Zs with the Kasongo names and stuff like that, it seems they are affecting you, but you don't want to. You're not a leader to have a thick skin. So for me, I think it's not about whether it will happen; it's about when it will happen. But I think Raila did the right thing to support Ruto, so that eventually he can bring down the government himself. Kwa hivyo hapo, that's my maoni, lakini tunaombea msichana anaitwa Nduta asinyolewe, asiwawe, at least arudi Kenya, hata afadhali alize mbuzi. There's nothing good in life like freedom. Hata kama hauna chochote, some of us going through so much as in Kenya, but once you have freedom and peace, then you can say life is worth living. Thank you, Bwana.
Asante sana Bwana Supervisor, we appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to engage, kwa mstari wa mbele kukaribisha mtu, and then I agree with the supervisor here. Politics is never played one way. There is a spirited campaign that everybody who is with the Kenyans has to be on the street, or has to be with the Gachagua and the rest of the people who are, like there's a video I'm going to play where Kalonzo is talking about high taxes and all that. I mean, we've been saying that from 2023, okay, from the street. Nothing much has changed. What makes us think that if we all collude together, ODM, Wiper, and all, then we say the taxes are high, will cause the changes that are required? I think it's good that we let everybody go and hunt. Whoever catches something, he brings home. We cook and eat, all of us. But if we all, resort into hunting one place, focusing in one direction, and we are not diversifying, and all of us don't get anything, we will continue sleeping hungry. So I pray that we will open ourselves up and begin to see the possibilities that are around us and how we need to get it, to get the thing done. Also, the aspect of Ruto must go. Okay. The great question is, when he goes, then what? Assumption is the, we say that assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. Assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. You assume that after you remove Ruto, it will just be easy for you to replace him with anything you want or anyone you want. Government structures and national leadership is very different. It's very different. That's why it's very hard even to adjust one part of the constitution to accommodate this. Like 2008, after the post-election violence, what happened? There were sittings upon sittings. Then there was the national accord. Then that national accord was to be taken to parliament. Then the parliament had to pass it to create the office of who? Prime Minister. That's the only way Raila became prime minister then. And so some of us assume that by just, shouting and, claiming and agitating, we will impact and cause positive changes. We must shoulder the responsibility of that same change. And that begins by us allowing the processes of the constitution to take place or fighting within the framework of the provision of the constitution. But if we assume that it is just kicking out and bringing in, I'm sure we're going to have a root shock of ourselves. Then also there is this notion that Raila has never wanted to be president. That is why he has not become president. That is also another fallacy that I call them the perpetuators of impunity or supporters of impunity are spewing around. I have said this before, I keep repeating. I sat for KCP, I sat for KCSE, okay? And none of those exams, after I handed my papers, I needed to go and protect my papers and protect my marks so that I passed the exam. If there is anybody who has wanted to be president the right way is Raila Odinga. Only the twisted and those who want people to get into the president through the wrong means are the ones claiming Raila has never wanted to be president. I believe Raila believes in this country, intends for the good of this country, and probably that is why the forces of impunity and the forces of corruption would not be comfortable with this presidency. That's why they go up the mountain, down the valley, stretch and, do anything in their power, even at the 11th hour, to just make sure he doesn't become president. And if that is what we are encouraging, that's what we are digging for, we are not different from those enemies of progress. We are not different from those lords of impunity. And therefore, if you want to be part of the change, you must insist that we should get what should be done within the provision of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. And it doesn't matter how much the Constitution is disregarded, it continues to be the law. And when there is law violation, you may even be in office, but after you get out of office, the law will still remain the same and it will catch you. It doesn't matter how many corners you cut. And so as Kenyans, let us get back to the rule of law, insist that everything must be done in order and in decency, but not buy into the cheap politics of shouting and claiming without doing proper due diligence to see to it that we put together what is the required machinery. After that, maybe we'll talk about the proposed machineries that people are throwing around, that you are either with Kenyans or you are with Kasongo. And Kasongo, sio Mkenya. I'm sure nitaanza kupigwa mawe. He's the number one Kenya. Angalia ID number yake labda ilibadilishwa. But what I want us to appreciate is that the Kenya as a country is bigger than all of us, is bigger than any one of us. And therefore, If we are fighting for Kenya, let it be fighting for Kenya, not pretending to have cheap political affiliations that are only serving the moment at the expense of what needs to be done. So until you show us how we are going to function after we meddle with our executive, or rather our governance structure, then we can buy and board that bus. But if all you want is to dismantle the structure, and then you will think of the map on how to rebuild later after you have finished destroying, you are a destroyer. You are not a builder, and we can't trust you. Well, let's get this out of the way, and then we'll have a session to hear what Macharia spoke as I invite Lala amefika. Na kama unakuja studio, tafadhali fanya hima uwai studio. Najua Sunday ishafika hapa Nairobi. Kwa hivyo show tutaifanya, lakini fanya hima kuwai kwa studio ili ukachangie katika mambo haya. Na cha muhimu, we must deal with this impunity. Thank you.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has joined a group of Kenya Railway retirees in demanding for justice in a dispute over a piece of land that they claim has been grabbed. Now, the Wiper leader, in the company of PLP party leader Martha Karua, accused the state of deploying GSU officers to the piece of land.
Without their pension, Kenya Railways, pursuant to a cabinet memo, vested in their retirement scheme this subject property. It has come to their shocking attention that a person high up in government who has the knack of grabbing public land is at it again. They have chased the poor pensioners out of their property on Valley Road, and the state property is now under police protection, and you can witness this for yourselves as a private developer, quote unquote, demolishes houses of the poor retirees.
This land, although the title didn't change, the beneficial owners are the retirees. It's not available to the government of Kenya or to any land grabber to lay hands on, because it has owners who are the retirees. This land has already been sold following the steps that should be taken in any legal sale. They have been paid 320 million out of the 400. Only 880 million is pending. And I believe it was sold to a Kenyan.
I have all these papers. You may want to take the illegal notice. You may also want to take the Trustee Perpetual Succession Act, which is irrevocable. Once properties are transferred to trustees, you cannot revoke the same.
Okay, mambo ni kama hayo. Nchi yetu aishi vituko na maajabu. Naomba tu kwamba tutapata afueni hivi karibuni. Reverend Lala, hali namna gani leo?
Bernard, salama kabisa. Tunashukuru Mungu. Asante Mama Selena. Anakuita Selena. Selena. Mungu ni mwema na tunashukuru. Bernard, kwangu mwenyewe leo nina huzuni mwingi. Ningeanza na hadithi fulani. Nilipokuja hapa Marekani many years ago, over 30 years ago, nilikuwa natamani sana kwenda Oklahoma. Yani kule Oral Roberts alikuwa ameanzisha university hapo, na alikuwa na ile prayer tower, na alikuwa kiona kwa mtandao, nasema I want to go and pray here. Sasa nilienda kwenda kwa maombi hapo. Mimi na mke wangu na a brethren, we took a vehicle from Cleveland drove all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulipoingia hapo, shule nzuri, university nzuri hapo, lakini maombi ilikuwa sina, yani you are disturbed, unasikia una huru, yani spiritual, watu wa spiritual wanaweza kuelewa vile nazungumza, yani ngumu kuomba, yani it's a thickness in the spirit, na hata kuomba si kuomba vizuri. It was as if this goal of mine kwa na ngojea niende hapo, si kwa na tena ile moyo wa that drive. And I left. I drove, first of all, to Texas, drove back to Ohio, and I forgot about it. I lived in Ohio, but about 10 years ago, a gentleman comes to my office and shows me a video clip of Black Wall Street. Okay, Black Wall Street. Wall Street is where they do trade, the richest place in America, and we talk about power and money. And this Black Wall Street was basically a town in Tulsa itself, where the blacks, after relief from slavery, went there to start their own little town. It was rich. It had millionaires. They had banks. They had schools. They had manufacturing industry. That was the center of Black life in America, which was rivaling. Actually, they were living better than white people because they used all their learning from slavery to kuanzisha a life which they were denied walipokuwa in slavery. But lakini jealousy from the white community was so bad that they basically banned. The city was bombed. Those early days of the plains, literally white people bombed it after the Second World War. Okay. I think after the Second World War, this city was bombed. Okay. And hundreds of people were killed. You can Google it and find out or read about it at Black Wall Street. And that city was destroyed completely. People died, hundreds of people died. That was the worst racial massacre one of the worst in the US, if not the worst. Okay. And the land was bare for a long, long time. Okay. Nobody built there. The churches were destroyed, were bombed. The hospitals they had their doctors and hospitals were, burned down. People died, and it is one of the toughest time for Black people, when actually a lot of them moved there to start this new city, new life as Black people, to kind of join the American dream. People died, and of course the history does not talk more about it, but of late it has been the last 10 years actually more people are aware of it and people are talking about it, and there's a film about it. But then this man comes to my office and telling me the story of the Black Wall Street. Then I asked him, where is this city? What happened to it? I mean, his people, are there any history about this place? Then he told me this place was, there's nobody for a while, and the church people bought it. Okay. Robert bought the place. That's when it clicked on me. But here are the death of African Americans, my own people, in hundreds, children and others bombed and killed and burnt alive and shot, everything else. And sitting there was as if I came from Africa to witness and hear these souls that were trapped in there, that died in there. And to me, it was a spiritual message because it came to me as a surprise when I was told that was the place where these many hundreds of people, were buried. And I'm saying that to say this. When I listen to Macharia talk about how election in Kenya has been stolen, 3 of them, and the people who took over power lived as if nothing happened. We won. We were the winner of election, and people died. Remember, people died, and hundreds of people, thousands, basically, of people died. Kenyans, innocent Kenya who went to vote, and someone schemed, planted, and executed the plan and set the fire. Watu wakafa wengi, some burned in houses in Naivasha and other places. All this Rift Valley stuff and plus other things that have happened in the naval election. And there are people sitting in high offices that planned it, and they're still our leaders. They're the ones telling us to obey laws, and they're the ones that are, the righteous. Actually, in my mind, that revelation by Macharia, by SM, is mind-boggling. Is tough for anyone who is interested in truth to watch and just ignore it. All these deaths that we have seen, lack of development and planning, even women and children going to die in Saudi Arabia and others, is simply because we subverted the will of God. We couldn't build our economy. We go up and go down. It's like a curse on us because we are doing things that are contrary to what God would want us to do for our nation. We are in a bad shape, Bernard. We have to pray. We have to repent. We have to seek God to help us. Just hearing that man, and he was truthful. He's 82, 84. He has nothing to lose. He's simply letting his heart out so that Kenyans can do something. And I don't know whether we are listening, whether people listen to. So playing those videotapes, I think every Kenyan should see and hear that. And so Wango, I compare it to Tulsa massacre, that the souls are still crying out for justice. There are souls in Kenya crying out for justice. Why was I killed? Why can't I don't have my father right now, my mother, my wife, whatever, because somebody killed them, simply because they wanted to control power, subvert. So if I know the devil, what I'm told the devil, the character of the devil is, then there are these people who planned this election. These are the devil. And then they call Baba Mganga, and all these years, even the churches, they're calling him Mganga. And these are the things that went on. To me, back to you, Bernard. I'm stunned.
Kano Getai. I started campaigning for presidential candidates in 1992 when I was campaigning for Raila Odinga, and as a Kikuyu, and Matiba was the opposite candidate. Anytime I went to that side of the country, they would block roads. They would be told there is somebody who is a Kikuyu not campaigning for Matiba, but campaigning for Odinga. But when I get to where the roads are blocked, they see me, they say, oh, it's SK. Okay, we'll remove there. So they remove them and I go on. In 2022, there was no big deal because Raila had joined Kibaki to compete in a presidential election with Uhuru, and it was a Nisia election for Kibaki. Then it came to 2007. 2007. When Raila Odinga and the current President Ruto were presidential candidates against Kibaki. And again, Kibaki is a Kikuyu, and I happen to have been campaigning with for Raila everywhere in the country. That always gave a huge, and now that I'm going to mention, Betty, why she's a senator, is because she was charged by Mrs. Macharia to be in all those road shows and campaign, always to make sure that I'm well fed. Then in 2017, 2012. Or 2012. Is it 2012?
2012.
No, the one that Kibaki won. 207 against 207. Kibaki won, and we had data, complete data, that Israel who had won the election. I know some people will run away here, but let them run away, because we agreed with the Getahi. I'm speaking to the soul of Getahi. Here is only the body. And we had agreed whoever dies first will reveal this information for the country. So that's why I'm doing it. Our data was showing Raila had won with 1.8 million votes, and I was picked from my house at night, and all the returning officers from Mount Kenya region were held somewhere, and their return forms taken. And I was taken to my office. I found some people, I'm not going to mention their names, and we changed all those figures, and Kibaki won the election against him. I'm not going to mention about 2013 election, which again was Uhuru, or 2012 to 2013. Again, I campaigned for Raila, and Royal Media had already started then, and Inoro TV and Citizen TV were switched off in the whole of Mount Kenya region, but that could not make me change my belief in Raila, because Raila was left to me by his father. Then we came to the election of 2022. 2017. before 2022. In the election of 2017, it was Raila against Uhuru and Ruto at that time, the current president. We learned that the register had been changed. You keep on pressing me, I won't stop. The register has been changed for voters. When you are registered a voter, you have your fingerprint, you have your photograph, and you have full names. That some names, they have taken some IDs from the death register, and they have the names, but they don't have a photograph. That's how Raila got beaten but remember, Malaga codified discrepancies and drew away the election. And Raila said he's not going to repeat the election with the IEBC being not changed. So obviously it was Uhuru and Ruto. They won the second round, the repeat, easily. Then I want to mention, because all this is in our records, about the election of 2022. We went to Naivasha to plan for the election of Raila as a candidate. Again, remember, it is Uhuru against Raila, and I'm campaigning for Raila. And at Naivasha, I tried to explain that the register that is going to be used has fake voters, but Raila was so impatient, he stopped me from explaining. But these 4 commissioners that will resign in the end or were fired, they came to my house and I showed them how the register is not true. But that's how, obviously, again, and you remember Musando, that's how the votes have been put in. And now I come to 2022 election, whereby I try to convince Raila that the voter register that is going to be used is not proper, and they should give it to us, even if we are going to be his agents and organize the agents. He didn't think so, and because of the handshake with the Uhuru, he thought it is a free flow. Just for jokes, 2022 election comes. It's Raila against Ruto. They were saying we have deep states, and Ruto would tell them which deep states you have, because Ruto knew exactly how the extra votes will be put it doesn't matter. You know, I'm 82 years. If I get kidnapped or hijacked, 84. It doesn't matter. Kano has gone and he was younger than me. So we must just tell this, because I want to tell President Ruto, and it's good that Raila is here, if he wants to leave this country, good, because he's the president and we cannot do anything. Yeah, whether he won the election or he didn't win, he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. But the only thing that can help us is to make sure that a new register of voters is created. If election comes before I pass on, like retiring in the next 2.5 years or so, so that all Kenyans can cast votes, and each vote will, even if I lose, he loses, at least he will leave a good country that counts votes, and each vote. So, my fellow Kenyans, this is what I would ask for President Ruto to do for us, to have a new voter register, and to make sure that the next election, whoever gets elected will be elected by Kenyans by casting votes. So, Mama Gashi, in all this election that I have campaigned for Raila throughout the country in road shows and so on, including the Kikuyu lads, where sometimes we would be even beaten, but Mama Gashi was always there in those vehicles. So even in this last election, for her to become a senator, in fact, the Montet wrote me a letter saying, how wonderful are you, SK? You could have convinced Raila to appoint you senator, but instead you selected our daughter to become senator. So that's how Betty became a senator. So life has been all this time that we, Muranga group,
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The lies, the hidden truths that have been covered. There is no longer enough blanket to cover them. So the truth is out, and how elections are conducted in our country, with a winner already in mind. And if the votes don't go that direction, they will make sure that those votes go in that direction. And so only the naive and the self-deceived will call such a faulty system and claim that Raila Odinga is to blame. I don't know where you will be sitting in your correct use of brains to think that even speak that way. Because as a competitor, everything is with the referee. And if the referee does not play accordingly, there isn't much the player can do. Except you wanted Raila to be chairman of IEBC and be competitor at the same time, who will be counting the votes at the same time, and will be in the Supreme Court at the same time. And that, you know, will never be a way of conducting free and fair elections. So our country is rotten as far as establishing the truth is concerned, and as far as free, fair, and credible elections are concerned. Mzee ameweka wazi, an 84-year-old man has no fear. He's waiting for the abductors if they need to abduct him. He has nothing to lose. He has told you what goes around. You are just born the other day. You come here, you think you can know better than Raila. You can call Raila names and say he never wanted to be president. I'm waiting for you to be on the ballot. I'm waiting for you to fund your 4 times election campaign for presidential elections. and then get rigged at the 11th hour. Tuone kama utaamka asubuhi. Mama Selina, take it. Mama, unmute, your mic is off.
Yes, Penat. Yes, Penat. Mambo Macharia ameongea the truth. Na election rigging sia 2022 imeanza mbali. Na cleaning of register Penat, if you remember, we don't even remember when. Na ndiye sababu nimekuwa nikisema Penat, tulisikia nikilia huyo Marian and the group in IEBC. Those are the people they do the register. See commissioners. And these Kenyans wana shout na wanapika kelele na wanatusi baba. What will they do now? Kwa sababu wamejua ukweli election imeipiwa na wataendelea kuipa in case Penat hatutapata time ama hakuna Mkenya atataka ukweli ya Kenya ipatikane. Hata tuwe na CNC mara ngapi, hata tukue na ile wadogo ya CNC sijui mnaita nini, hakuna kitu tutafanya mpaka. Na nashukuru baba ndiye anacheka na waangalia, anasema nyinyi mtatoa Ruto ndio nini ifanyike, because he knows. Alisema safa. Leo Macharia ametuambia mambo ya safa na ametufungulia. So it is high time for those people. Na leo nimeona watu wanatusiana pia. They are so bitter. Hakuna China watu ya ODM wachaitwa kwa kuingia serikali, sijui kwa kusaidia Ruto. Hakuna Machina watasema. Na wasemi wenyewe, hiyo kura yote imeipiwa, hiyo yote wameipa mara 5. Wameipia nani? Apati ya Ruto. Yenye alisema muko na deep state, but hiyo hata alituambia, hata akiwekwa nduku ya Raila. Ruto alikuwa amesema, hata kama Upuru atakuwa chairman ya IEBC. Because he knows what they have done. Sitaki kuongea sana. It is a very painful day today in Kenya. Kama watu wana reason. Kwa sababu tunaongea mengi na hakuna kitu tunajua. Tunaongea mengi, hatuendi kupika kura. Na tukipika kura, tunapika kura kupanish Penat, tunapika kura kupanish Lala, tunapika kura kupanish Mama Selina. We have never elected the right leaders. Sahi wa Munyoro ako number 1. Mpaka mtu anaongea mbele ya baba. Atuungana na wa Munyoro. River Yala, inaitwa nini Penat? Lake Victoria. Inaenda kuunda river inaitwa nini? Yala. The small river. Who will join the river? Small river, Lake Victoria. Inakuja kuungana na small river ile inaishia hata haifiki Suswa. You see, that is Kenyans. Unaambia revolutionary, unamwambia baba ati siyo wa Munyoro na hiyo Kalonzo na hiyo grupu nafikiria wanaweza, si watume muambie hiyo watu yenyu muende mukae chini na baba. Lakini si ati Raila kuja unga wa Munyoro mkono. Like he has won 4 times. Pila wa Munyoro na pila hii kurubi yote. Hata hii kurubi na pebanga ye kwa koti. So, where are we, Penat? Na ni vijana, ukiona watu wenye wana si wasee kama Macharia. Macharia amesema ukweli yake. Na hajataka kwenda kupumzika kwa baba kabla hajasema ukweli. The truth has been said and I'm happy. Tumekuwa tukisaidia baba, tunatusiwa, hakuna vitu hatujaitwa, lakini tunasema Mungu asante. We have been standing in the right side. Awe amechaguliwa ama hajachaguliwa, tumekuwa tukisema ukweli ya kwamba Kenyans tuwe na, wacha nisiongee kwa sababu naona tuko wengi, kwa sababu leo Penat nitalala vizuri nikijua hakika msee munaita mukoroki, munaita majina, amekuwa akiwin Kenya, na patu wanawapatia time. Saa ile mnataka kutupa nchi yetu kwa umbwa. Saa ile wengine wanasema hata heri ichukue, cheshi ichukue nchi, na yeye patu anakuja anatuokole, tunaanguka, anakuja anatushika mkono, anatusimamisha. Asante.
Okay, thank you mami, we appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, tuendelee kukaribishana tafadhali. Nashukuru tunapoendelea na maongezi haya. Kwangu mimi natafuta ukweli na ukweli mtupu. Tusitafute sababu ya kufunika maovu ambayo yamefanyika katika nchi yetu, haswa ikiguzia masuala ya uchaguzi. Okay? Kwa sababu these narratives that we are coming up with, that Raila did not want to be president. I can see somebody talking about that he did not deal with the register. That confession by Macharia, that's just a revelation. But if you are a player in the elections, there is a limit to how much you can get into what IEBC is doing. If you were here like 2017, there was a back and forth between tyranny of numbers and the ODM fraternity every time. And when you will mention IEBC, all of the Jubilee people will come. Leave IEBC alone. Stop being you are already sensing defeat. That's why you are saying IEBC should set this in order. If you are ready for elections, let's go for elections. Don't touch IEBC. The advocates for IEBC were Jubilee guys. So even if Macharia says the register has dead voters, and then IEBC shielded that nobody should touch anything that happens to the IEBC, and then you are a candidate, you have your soldiers in parliament. These soldiers in parliament cannot do anything because there is tyranny of numbers. People are voting without thinking on anything. They changed, including security laws, introduced laws that were anti-constitutional. So let's not just state things without having a proper background understanding of the kind of country we are dealing with. The kind of crookedness and twistedness that is in this country, especially as it touching on who becomes president, is older than our years. And that is why we need to think soberly and address this matter squarely. Don't forget, we threw away the register. Ile ilikuwa kivitu. Tukasema tukitoka Electoral Commission of Kenya to IEBC, vitu zote zile zilikuwa sababu vitu tufanye nini? Tutupe. Including the whole of Electoral Commission. We started afresh. Returning officers were vetted. Commissioners were vetted. How that old register found its way into the new IEBC, only God knows. So what I really want us here to engage with as Kenyans is our pursuit for the truth should be void of who to be blamed and who not to be blamed. Let us go and get our country fixed. And to fix this country, we can't fix it without fixing our leadership. And to fix our leadership, the process of us getting leaders must be clean. If there is room for cheating, we will always end up with mediocres and we will forever go through the same circles. And so I want us to get into this with our eyes open, with open minds, and begin to ask right questions. Rigging for elections consecutively against one person is not easy. And the presidential campaigns are not cheap. You invested your money, your time, your energy, went around the country, won the elections, and then the loser is announced as a winner. Go to the Supreme Court said the loser is still the winner. From there, what do? You know, many of us talk about Raila Odinga, we never place ourselves in the shoes of Raila Odinga. Old man went around the country, convinced the whole country. The majority of the country voted for him. But at the 11th hour, somebody else is announced. And guess who gets blamed? The same person that has been robbed. This is terrible. I remember the question by, what is her name? This ambassador, African lady, I forget her name, Kari? I will remember her name.
Arikana from Zimbabwe.
Rikana, yes, from Zimbabwe. She said about the West raping Africa, and said raping Africa in terms of economic, carrying away our resources and all that. So somebody said, advised her she needs to talk nicely and not be very aggressive about it. So after the meeting, he asked the brother, the black man, who was saying that she should not be aggressive in speaking in that way. And he said, I want to ask you, how can you ask a man who is raping you to rape you nicely? I mean, is that possible? And so this robbing of elections is not an accident. It is designed and it is sustained, and the thieves are there. The secretariat, as it stands right now, it has all those thieves in there. It has all those records there. They have all the avenues of introducing the dead voters. And so, are we going to 2027 the same way, or we are going to have an overhaul? If you're talking revolution, let's talk revolution of IEBC. Thank you. I'm happy Alexio is here, and that means I will get my leave very soon. I want to bring Furaha to weigh on the subject, and then we hear Alexio na nitaanza mimi kung'atuka. Furaha, vipi lakini?
Salama.
Karibu.
Asante. Anasalimu kila mtu. There's a sense of vindication because there are a lot of people who we have differed with in regards to, the relevance of Baba in politics, what role he has played, what value he brings. And the angle I want to start from is true friendship and loyalty, because SK Macharia, even as he said that Raila was left to him by Odinga, we also know the story of how, they helped him to be able to go to the US, and how Raila helped him when, his Lillian Towers, when Moi was coming after him. And because of that, he has stood with Baba all those years. And we always say that, we keep saying that when somebody has stood for you, even if they falter, because if you listen to Macharia, there are times when Baba has not been, listening to him and his advice, but that has not demeaned their loyalty or their friendship. And it's a lesson for the younger generation, especially, who just want us to, forget about, okay, he did well, but on this one time he failed us. And because of that one time, forget about everything else that is valuable or that is good. And I think life is not meant to be like that. That, if say I'm in a family, you're a mother, you're a wife, and you've done so well over so many years, and for one mistake, people will not forget, they don't want to forget this one mistake, and they're going to rubbish everything else that you have done before. That's where I want, I've been urging the young people to try and see the bigger picture, that sometimes somebody might falter, or you might think that, in your estimation, they have not done you well. But if they have done you well before, that should count for something. So, you could see that this is an unburdening of soul, because apparently they had a pact or an agreement or a gentleman's statement as friends, as relatives, that, you know, if you go before me, can we make sure that this is out there in the limelight? And Gitahi went. I remember even we joked that, you know, he was an exceptional pilot. Then he goes and dies in a road accident, you know. So ndege ilimwangusha, and yet he was a very exceptional pilot, retired, but still working diligently. So everyone who has had their misgivings about what had happened during these elections, past elections, I think there's some clarity that has been shared. I remember just earlier this week when we had the two young men here, and I told them, they were asking, what is this problem that, you know, Raila has to come on all the time and shake hands and write coalitions and enter into memoranda of understanding? What is the problem? And I remember saying, botched elections, failed elections. Our processes are not accurate, they're not good, they don't give us the true winner. So in the end, the person who purports to have won doesn't have the legitimacy. And even if they try to push things, it doesn't work for them, because sometimes it's just that you are keen on getting elected, but you don't have a plan for the country. That's the problem. Sometimes, you know, people have come, for example, if you take the example of Ibrahim Traore, he came, you know, on the backdrop of a coup, which is considered evil. But what he is doing is rendering that coup, you know, neither here nor there. People are like, okay, so even if you came through a coup and you're working for us, you know, forget that democracy, because it hasn't worked for us. So that is exactly what SK Macharia is telling Ruto. It doesn't matter, okay, you stole elections. Now you're the president. Just do what is right by the Kenyan people so that we can move past the stolen election. The reason we cannot move past these elections is because you come and then you can't even work for the people. If you worked for the people, people would, you know, easily, you know, let go what evil has transpired. But like I have always said, the place to look at, based on how our elections have always panned out, it's that IEBC, it's that secretariat, it is the processes that secure our forms. You know, if you remember Piki Ponki in this last election where, you know, everything was being rubbished, you know, sometimes we forget that it wasn't just Baba who challenged the elections. There's some people who were challenging the elections and they had their lawyers there. And, you know, some of them brought arguments that were, you know, very separate from what Baba was contending. And we ended up throwing everything, because Piki Ponki was keen on this second set of forms. Why would you bring a second set of forms? You know, it's additional. Why do you have duplicate? You know, and we had people like even Wetangula's son, you know, defending this thing, and yet his dad was out there when the procurement was being done. The kind of rigging, the kind of intricate fraud that goes on behind the elections is what, you know, gives us this. It doesn't matter. We go out there and we vote overwhelmingly for the candidate who deserves to win, but there's so much that has gone into the workings. And for this one, especially the 2022, the numbers were so overwhelming that, you know, there was so much additional work that had to be done. There was the staffing had been done. still it was like the numbers are not adding up. And that is why at some point they simply stopped, kutoa matokeo ile ya IEBC. At some moment it stopped. And then for days you are wondering, why aren't they announcing? Why aren't they announcing? Because the figures are not right according to what they want. So you have to sit down, look at what else do we need to do so that we can get these 200,000 votes, that will, put a margin that I have 50 plus 1. So I think for a start, that's where I want to submit that SK Macharia didn't want to go with that burden if he leaves. He was talking like, I'm here, I've seen it all. If I go, so be it. And there's a sense in which that has a lot of value in how much truth he was putting into his eulogy of his brother-in-law. And just one last thing in my initial submission, we saw this, we've seen this. People, we want to forget some of these things, and it's good we've been sort of woken up so that we can relook at what we know, the things we saw. We saw stuff at Royal Media, Transnight, young people of intellect, count those votes for us. You are doing the same here, Bernard and team. You did everything. And then somebody comes and tells you that everything you did, all your intelligence, all your skills, somebody rubbishes and says, there's nothing there. It can't be true. It can't be true. And I think that should give us momentum, that sometimes you can stand alone and still be right, because the numbers were so many here. So many people have gone, or dropped off along the way. But those who stood up and said, we know this is the right thing. We can't be changing our mind every now and then, and yet we have the facts facing us. Thank you, Bernard.
Okay, asante sana Furaha, tunashukuru. These revelations by SK Macharia should serve us as a lesson, and then of course help us to have a bearing for the future. I think from all angles, that means our civil society pressure groups, plus members of parliament, and the rest of us as Kenyan public. Let's demand for what is just. If our elections cannot decide our leaders, let's forget the elections. We forget the elections completely. Let whoever wants to be president forever continue being president forever until we come up with a system that will give us credible leaders. This country has got so much, and we suffer from lack of so much. All of it because we have twisted, half-baked, incompetent people in leadership. And that is done deliberately so that we can easily be manipulated and easily we can be used so that we confirm that we can't do better than this. What we have seen and heard so far, I believe we have sufficient reasons to stand up for what is right. And going forward, the IEBC is not in any position to conduct any election as at now. We need to have that overhaul. I don't know how, but my thoughts before I bring Alexo is that we don't need a permanent IEBC. That's one of the reasons why rigging becomes easy. The way we constitute the National Examination Council, the invigilators, the people to receive papers, distribute, invigilate the exam, and release the results. After that, invigilators, we don't have permanent invigilators. We don't have that. They are constituted for that particular exercise. After the exercise, everybody goes to their profession. I don't think we need a permanent IEBC. We just need to have, if there is a reason or we're going to have an election, we put together a team that is credible, that is going to give us elections. So that hakuna hii story ya mtu anakaanga kwa ofisi, anapigiwanga simu, ameingiza tender calls na wanasiasa, kuna wale ambao wanalinda, kuna wale ambao wanahujumu, kuna wale ambao ana set up hata upige kama vile Stedman alikuwa anasema, it doesn't matter how many votes Raila gets, he cannot be president because the people will not allow him to become president. Those of you remember that time. And so that Kenyans believe that it doesn't matter how many millions of votes Raila gets, he cannot be president because there are people who don't want him to be president. In my opinion, we need to go beyond that. And for us to go beyond that, let's keep on the true north. We either have a constitution and that constitution is working. If not, we suspend all of it and let's have a new way of doing things. Thank you very much. Lala, unainua mkono.
Yes, Bernard, I want to challenge you a little bit. I don't think whether we have permanent IEBC officials or not matters. I think what matters is if we are going to obey the rules and the laws and go by, what our elections are all about. Let's look at the US election. Each state is, there's nobody called a national person somewhere sitting in that office. It's when it is done in the state, when it's done in the constituency, it is done. Okay. So if there's a problem, you can localize and say, you know what, let's look at Muranga. What happened in Muranga? Okay, let's focus on it and correct it. But in Kenya, it's like a recipe of disaster. Whether it's permanent or not permanent, as long as you have this monster where you bring in people towards the end to manage it, that will be actually more chaotic. And if you keep it the same way, there are people who will manipulate the whole system. So I think we have to create laws. To me, when we talk about election, counting votes is very, very simple because the technology is there. Right now, I voted in the US. You can today know how I voted all along. So if there is a problem, they can be able to find out. In fact, during campaign, we know whom to go for because we know who voted for Republican and Democrat. Okay, we know the houses. So you don't have to go and knock a house of someone that you don't think will vote for you. So you already know. So I don't think we want to know. Right now, inaonekana wa Kenya, it's like tunadanganywa na tunaona we feel helpless because the same way you have your money in the bank, the same way we send M-Pesa, information is there. Why can't we have that information? In fact, a lot of people should be in jail today because the data should be there explaining everything that went on. But do we see them? Do we have them? For some reason, they're kept from us. Listen to Macharia talk. There are people who they don't care. They come and pick the man at night. He said that. They went and picked him at night, drove him to his office. The man is not crazy, told him, change. And then they collected all returning officers in the central province, all those papers, returning, whatever you call them, those papers. And Kenyans are okay with it. If Gen Z are fighting maybe to implement the truth, in those servers and all this election fraud, I think I would be, behind them 100%. But if they're vilifying the one who is truthful and they are telling us we don't want that man, then actually they are not on the right side. I think it's about truth. if we can follow the trail and get the truth, because people are dead. Watu wamekufa. There are those who are homeless, jobless, and all that, simply because of these guys who are still in power. They're there. So my hope is that the Gen Z will be able to look at the truth and go for the center, not the peripheries, because it seems as if there are things that are happening on the inside and see tunazungumza tu outside. Okay? And as long as we are fighting each other here and there, things are happening and we are asking no question. So it is a time for us to really ask. Macharia set the ball rolling. In my mind, I think Kenyans should ask those questions. Even Baba, we have to challenge him. We want him to come out with those data in there in a way that allow us to see what the truth is so that we can be afraid to repeat them, but also to create something that will sustain this country past this quagmire that we have found ourselves in. Back to you, Bernard.
So thank you, Reverend Lala. We appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, tuendelee kukaribishana na tufanye haki katika masuala haya. Like video, subscribe kama uja subscribe. We have a huge chunk of people who follow this show especially and are not subscribers. Please, we need you to subscribe, because if we do a whole show and nobody subscribes, there is how we drop in our ranking, or nobody comments, or nobody gives a video a thumbs up, we drop. So please help us to stay afloat, even as we continue sharing what is valid, I believe, and engage. Reverend Lala, it's I believe that to fix this country, there are some things that needs to be done in such a way that the aiding of the corruption or the functionality of cartels need to be cut. And one way of ensuring the cartels will not work is when they are suddenlies. As Alexio comes in, I'll give you an example of Kibra by-election. Huh? We had a Kibra by-election, was it in 2020 or something like that? Thereafter, when the late member of parliament died, and then there was Mariga, and then there was the Okoth, okay, who was ODM. We had the other for the Kenya candidate and all that. The stakes were high, and the rigging process had been put in place so that Mariga wins, come what may, just to, you know, make sure that that Kibra seat does not remain with ODM. What helped the ODM win of that election was a quick change that took place under Matiang'i. All the police officers who had been deployed to take care of those elections, and they were the ones already now strategically placed to aid in the rigging. It was 11 in the night, the morning when the voting is going to take place. All of them were given transfer and they left that night to report elsewhere. So in the morning, when these people are calling their key points where the rigging should take place, we are Konjiana and Lokijokio, we use Jana Turkana, we are Karisa. So by the time they want to reconstruct another channel through which the rigging can take place, it was too late. So suddenly have a way of making sure that the perennial committed cartels of subverting the will and the wishes of Kenyans are dealt with is when people are in office for a short while. Take, for instance, the SCA, what is it called? A chief executive officer of IEBC has a security of tenure. Okay? IEBC chair has a security of tenure. So no matter what he does, he will be there for 6 years. This one will be there for another 6 years. Those are people who are not going to deliver because their salary is guaranteed, their job is guaranteed, their performance doesn't matter. They will continue doing what they are. So one way of us dealing with this mediocre, let's have a body that is put together to do the work and then get dismissed. That way we'll have better organized elections, and these people will have stakes are high. This is their only time. If they will get another opportunity to conduct election, it will be relying on how they perform in this one. But now ameshapewa miaka sita. Isaac Hassan, when we kicked him out of office, do you know alipwa mshahara yote ya miaka sita? So this security of tenure, we give them huge salary so that they cannot be bought, it's all a fallacy. Let's get credible people, put them in that place, let them conduct election, one election, mutu anaenda kwao. That way I think we will have much done. But Alexio, karibu siku nyingi, namna gani?
Zuri sana. I just want to salute all of you guys on the studio. Bernard, Mama Selina, Furaha, Lala, and there are people in the comment section. Irene, I've seen you. Tony, I've seen you, and all the others. I'm Jambo. I just want to start by saying something. Maybe we can look at the word integrity. What does the dictionary word of integrity says? It says the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles that refuses to change. So there's where I need to start, integrity. So it doesn't matter whether you stay in that as an IEBC commissioner for 2 years or for 6 years, but do you have integrity? You yourself, do you have integrity? If you feel that you don't have integrity, then don't offer yourself to become an IEBC official. And the other thing is, I think this issue about, I concur with Lala somehow. We don't need even an IEBC. Elections are there. We just need to have people with, even without a IEBC, like in US, they don't have IEBC. And I believe the same happens in UK. Yes. In fact, in UK, they normally do this. You're just selected before the election happens. They say people so and so, you'll be in that hall counting the votes. So that's like if you are voting, like for example, I was voting at Donholm Primary. So they will select me and somebody else, 2, 3, say you'll be in this polling station, this polling center, and then at the end of the day, you'll count the votes, tabulate, and then relay the results. Okay, so we need to have that thing. And even this thing of people having agents, I don't think we need agents. We just need to have people of integrity. If it's IEBC, let's have people of integrity conducting the elections. And this idea of having, we have voted on this particular day and then we take 5 days to announce the winners. There is where the problem comes in. Let's go to the voting. Vote today. If you are voting from morning, from 8 or from 7 to 6, the station is closed. The polling center is closed at 6. Yes, let's start counting at 7. By the time it gets to 9, we should know who has won what. And that story is finished. Before we go to sleep, let's go to sleep knowing who is the president, who is the MP, who is the MCA. Because Bernard, let me ask you, how long should you count 700 votes? How long is that going to take you to count only 700 ballot papers? How long? How long? Just tell me. Is it going to take you?
They can't even take 5 minutes if you're going to count.
Yes. Yeah. People count. There's a counter that counts millions of shillings. And it gives you. So if you're having a problem with that, if you can be able to count billions of shillings, why are we taking so long to count only, like the last election were 18 million? 18 million votes, yes. And the other thing
13 was 13 thereabout. It didn't even get to 18.
Yes, yes. So we should be knowing all these things before we go to sleep. There's no room for rigging. If we are just counting and then we announce the winners, and then again we should have media validating the figures. Hii mambo yenye Chebukati ndiye anajua peke yake nani ameshinda, nani amepata nini. That's rigging, that's bullshit. We should not be doing that. Media should be verifying, just the way when we go to, like for example, Embakasi East, at Wanjandege there, the media should be there. Once the votes comes in at 9, they should be there now to announce this polling, this Donholm Primary School, or this one, get this, and then they announce. Media should do their work. IEBC commissioners or chairman should not be the one knowing the results. The results should be known by everybody before he announces. Yes? Okay. And the other thing is also, we normally, like when we are going, like right now, we are in the process of hiring new commissioners. When the interviews are conducted, the person who came number 1 should be just automatic. You are number 1 in contesting to become a chairman. The interviews were done, and you are among the 3 or now I see the 11 guys, right? 11 people who have qualified to go to the interview. So the first person to emerge number 1 should be given the chairmanship. They should be not like, oh, because what I know last time, Chebukati was not even the best, but he ended up being the chairman. And there were some guys there who were the best, who had the best interest and best knowledge, who answered questions, who did well in the interview. They did not get the. So we should give the best person or the best man, best woman for the job. The person who comes number 1, who scores the highest score, should be given that job, not number 3 or number 4. No, number 1. And then the other thing is, I was just saying, the truth will always be the truth. However much you try to hide, the truth will remain the truth. You cannot bury the truth. And that's why people like SK Macharia are coming up to tell us what most of us know. They're just confirming. So the truth should always be the truth. And then the other thing is, now that Raila has been suffering these things that have been disadvantaging him for a long time, he should be able now to come for the sake of future generation. He needs now to initiate the reforms, the real reforms. We need to see them rolling. And then those real reforms should help the future generation, even if not him, for the future, for the sake of the country, because we know where the country is at right now. It's not a good place. So we need to reform these things, get a new register, wash out all the dirt, because Ruto knew very well in Mount Kenya they are hiding 1.8. That's what we are now learning, that from Kibaki they had 1.8 somewhere. So this figure of 1.8 has been moving from one election to another. We need to do away with that. We need to have a clean register with clean people. Let's make sure that we do a clean, so that whoever wins has the clean mandate from man and from God. And then he does the work that he's supposed to do. Like right now, Ruto doesn't know what to do. That's why he wants to cook a million chapatis. As if it was among his campaign promises, I'll be cooking a million chapatis. Yes. Chapatis people can eat at their houses or what. But since because you used a corrupted means to get into the power, you will be, I don't know, you'll just be all over. You won't do anything. Because the process he used to get there was not right. And also he does not have the blessings from God himself. That's why he's messing up left, right, and center. So the media should not be gagged. The media should be given freedom to report on the election processes, so that where we went wrong, the media can point it and when we correct it. But this issue about gagging the media, you cannot report, you cannot do something. No, we need to have checks and balances. And checks and balances in the electoral process are the media and the common man. Yes, those who check us, they can be able to check, see, okay, At this particular point, this was the figures. Like we have Kim's Kids. So the media should have reported to us by the close of the station, which was 6. This is what the percentage by Kim's Kids says, so that we know. Each and every media has reported, okay, in Muranga, as per 5 or as per 620 when they, or 6, and then we are reporting by the time 610. This is the figure that we found. The Kim Kids were able to confirm 53% of voter turnout. Then that's also, it should be there. Not that like the way they did last time. And then also Supreme Court should have men and women of integrity. Supreme Court should have men and women of integrity. Yes. Yes, and the integrity and have the interest of the country at heart. They should say the truth. If you know you are not, you don't have integrity and you don't have the interest of Kenyans, you are there to acquire salary and to cut shoddy deals, kindly leave. Leave and go and do your shoddy deals elsewhere. Thank you.
Okay, asante sana Alexio. We appreciate that. A good way to look at it. Integrity. A word that is, I would say, a strange word in this country, because people want to destroy even that which is good, so that everybody's bad alongside with them. There was a rumor about the 2007 elections, I think so. The powers that be kidnapped Kivuitu's son and forced him. You either announce it this way or your son is dead. Kuna watu katika nchi hii, I will never forget the Kivuitu lamentation. Kivuitu lamented and said, the president is good. He said, but there are people around the president that God should have never created. Now, I can't forget that phrase. Now, there are people who will do anything to just get their way. And those people are the ones we need to deal with once and for all. Now that they cannot let Kenyans get what they should get, let them be gotten out of the way. But going forward, something must happen to us as a people. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope, Alexio, you are around. I leave you with the driver's seat. Ukifika mahali umefika, unafunga alafu unakwenda. Mimi naomba ningatuke 2 a.m. already in Nairobi. Thank you for that. Now, the other part is we are still paying bills. Today is the 16th. StreamYard must be paid. So naomba tusichelee katika kutuma michango yetu, and then kusaidiana katika mambo yote. We need to continue supporting Frank. Please tusimwache. Leo amenitumia message kwa Sheng mpaka nikahitaji kutafuta dictionary na kuambia niko na matatizo makubwa sana. Kumbe hii Sheng imekuja ile mpya. I will not tell you which word he used, but I had to ask, what does this one mean? Nikashindwa, including the people around me, they couldn't tell me. So I asked him, what is this? Nakanambia hiyo ndio njaa. The word you cannot relate to njaa by all means. And so please, let's be able to support Frank. Like I said, Frank is now is a property of Sound Candy Talk. Let's ensure that he lives well, enjoys well, and studies. And then after studying, he should be able to start a business just like we have planned. So tukue mstari wa mbele, tusichoke. Thank you very much. So I'll hand you over to Alexo. Alexo, you bring Mama and then Lala na muendelee namna hiyo mpaka tutakapokutana tena. Asante. Then just one more thing, Alexo, the videos, ukiangalia kando hapo, kuna ODM leaders dismiss Ruto must go. Ya Kalonzo tushacheza. Hii ya Supreme Court inahitajika kuchezwa. alafu yeah, hii ya uchaguzi tushacheza. So these two, the Supreme Court and the ODM leaders, you can use them, and of course any other that is available, have them in the WhatsApp group if you can access it. Kwanza kuna ile ya Gachagua akisema sisi na Ruto hatuwezi kosana kwa sababu hata wake zetu ni wachungaji na sisi wenyewe ni Wakristo. I leave it there.
Thank you. Before you go, don't you see that we need an apology from Martha Karua for 2007?
And now that confession has begun, let this week be a week of confession.
Yes.
Kama ulitumiwa kubeba kura, ukuje kusema wewe ndio ulibeba. Kama ulitumiwa kukamata Kivuitu, sema mimi ndio niliwekea Kivuitu bunduki. Hii wiki ikuwe wiki ya confession. We want to have a new slide to start on as Kenyans. Thank you.
Mama Selina, uwanja ni wako. Mama Selina, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there, but oh my God. I'm running short of words. Umai pikwa na putwa. I'm here to listen now, Senate, because Kenyans tunachukua vitu kwa musa. Tunaongea leo and tomorrow we will forget. Macharia ametuambia where to focus. Alisema alitaka kumwambia baba, let us not go to election kabla atuchakilin the register. Now Kenyans, tunapigania chairman ya IEBC commissioners. The register inafanyika na ile marjan. Nimesikia hata munasema wale officers wako IEBC, they are permanent and pensionable. Wako na maregister, awa ndio wanarik, awa ndio mahali uko polling station. We don't clean register kwa national office Bomas of Kenya. We clean the register from the polling station, where uko na officer kwa kila constituency. Amekula mshahara, hata kama hatuna election, they are there in the office. Wanajua what kani, wanajua your what. Muko na polling station ngapi. So now, we have 2 years. We are still quarreling. Tungeambia baba, kwa sababu umeingia ndani, unasema mnataka kufanya kazi kwa serikali, rekebisha hayo mambo. Let us clean the register. Ndio tuona at least 2027 itafanyika nini. Lakini kama tumeambiwa mambo, alafu kesho tutalete motion zingine, unaona Kenyans watacheka. Hata hapa yenyewe ukisikia vile watu wanaongea, you feel so bad. You don't want even to be part and parcel. Wacha hii Kenya iende mpaka siku ile kila mtu atasikia uchungu yake. We are not serious Kenyans. We are not. Hiyo register tutapatilisha aje? How? And who will do that? Baba mwenye tunamtusi kila siku tukiamuka tukifungua mdomo ni baba. He has done enough. Unless we are ready for Ruto to come back. And he will come back. Sabu anajua kitu. Haya now, how do we go? Wakati tumefukusa commissioners karibu 3 times. Nasikia ule Mariana ameandikwa 6 years. 2 times or what? 6 years. What is he doing there? Baada ya election, ate cleaning, wanasema okay, tulikuwa tunaambiwa election ikifanyika, hiyo ballot box na everything inapelekwa kwa ICAPS. Ama sijui inapelekwa wapi. But really, Sio ndio inaruti inapiga kura, wanajua hesabu ya hapa na hapa. So thank you so much, and let me watch. I want to watch and see what Kenyans reaction wanasema nini. Wale wanaendelea kutusiana ni kusema bado Kasongo aendelee. Let's wait and see what is happening. For me now, I want to listen carefully and listen ideas. How do we save our country? How do we save our children? The country is for the young people now. And you young people, badala ya kuchunga nchi yenu, munakuwa na mudomo mingi. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama. Furaha.
Yes, Alexio. I think now that some of the clarity that has been given is that the process of starts early, starts with the basic tools that we use. You know, that voter register is the one that determines the number of votes that will be there. So if it's faulty, it doesn't matter how early you wake up, doesn't matter how diligent people are in terms of voting, it just will not count. And SK Macharia was very clear that, you know, he wishes there will come a day when the Kenyan vote will actually count. I think there's a sense in which we all have to. There are a lot of areas that were touched because Baba also spoke. Sifuna also spoke and you know, gave his bit, because he's one of the people who has received a lot of bashing, because you know, at one time people think that he's on this side, but he's always been very clear and said, you know, I am the SG. Baba speaks to me, so I haven't heard what you're saying. And even for this funeral, I think he was instrumental in making sure that Raila was there. And it could be that even his being there helped also SK to come out even more clearly and to be more detailed about exactly what has happened, because some of the things they have worked together with Raila. And his major rallying point is that voter register. And now we are also saying that if it is a question of IEBC, this is where the focus is supposed to be. And I agree with you when you say that, you know, this thing of having people there being permanent and pensionable, you know, it can be done even without having people on security of tenure and everything, because it's just counting votes. But you see, in Kenya, you can't just vote. Una vote, unaambiwa unafaa kuchunga kura yako. You are a candidate, you're vying, and you're being told unachunga kura yako. Unachunga kura yako, so they know that there is theft. You see? So we are coming from a background where we know that, you know, theft and thievery exists, so that you are urged, you know, kishapiga kura, msiondoke hapo, mchunge kura yenyu. The candidate unaambiwa we ulishindwa because you didn't have agents here, you know, you didn't have people who are monitoring your votes. That can't be the reality of what IEBC is about, you know. And these are statements that we even heard from Chebukati, may his soul rest in peace. Even him, he was saying, you know, you didn't protect your vote enough, and he is the person who is supposed to be in charge of running the election. So I think as much as the young people, you know, tunashinda tukisema ni viongozi wa kesho, but they are already present with us here. So if people want to take the mantle from the people who have been there, clearly understand exactly what happens, because if you don't understand, you'll fall victim. Because you see, there are times when kura imeshaibiwa, and you know, people will tell you, oh yeah, analia tu kura zake zimeibiwa, si pia yeye aibe. And you see, the whole point If it was a question of kuiba, maybe Baba would have, managed a long time ago to be president. But you see, that would defeat his principle. That would defeat the sense for which he wanted change. If he's just going to do exactly what others are doing, aibe, staff votes, afanye nini, I believe he can do that. And he has people, if it was to go that way, I'm sure he would be excellent at it. But you see, that's not what we want. That's why it's not a do or die. I have to be president, whether votes have to be stolen, people have to die in order for me to be president. Just so be it. I think it's very important for us that this is coming on the backdrop of the MOU, so that we can also stop just throwing bile all the time, because the MOU has its place, I think, based on the fact that we tried. Baba himself said, I went to court. I said open the server, they didn't open. I went to the street, it didn't help. And if you are the kind of person who doesn't want to sit back and not do anything, he's like, what else can I do? Do I dialogue because now I've tried everything and it's not working? Can I dialogue if it's the one that is going to bring the change that is desired? Because he said again, it's not good for the country to burn just because you want to be president or you want leadership. It's not right for the country to just go down the drain or go the civil war way just because. If there's a way you can go around and talk and come to an agreement, then it is worth it. The only challenge we have here is that we have somebody who does not listen. So let's see how far that can go. But the events of this past week, they clearly show somebody who is not very advisable. Sio mtu ambaye anachukua maoni ama mawaidha kwa urahisi. So now that we know Macharia has sort of given an inside account of things that some of us have believed or observed from the outside, maybe it will help this lot, the Gen Zote or Gen Z, whoever it is that is agitating for change, to be very alert to what is happening and to realize that it is not enough for them to mobilize and say, we are getting this person out. You have to understand how things work from the inside so that you operate that machine from within. Because if you don't have that, then everything you do might just end up with the outcome that is not desired. I remember having an engagement with some young people, and I told them, if you don't recall Odhiambo Mbai and how he died, Msando, maybe that one is recent and a lot of people know because, and if we don't understand, the controversial circumstances that surrounded Mutula Kilonzo's death, and all these things that relate to election, all the deaths that relate to election, not just the ones that are outstanding, the ones that even happened, silently. I remember yesterday highlighting the repeat election that SK Macharia has spoken about today. That, people like to say Baba lost, I don't know how many elections. For me, I tell them, the 2017 one, you can't say he lost because it was nullified. So, the contender, the opponent didn't win. So you can't say that, you can't call that one a loss. And then the repeat one also you cannot count because, he didn't contest. And prior to that repeat election, I gave the scenario where I think no less than Okiya Omtata and others were in court, contest that we want to go to a repeat election with having corrected anything. And in this country, only Maraga and Lenaola were available, so that there was no quorum to make a determination that would change the entire existence of this country. We had very reliable people, men of the learned, they're called the learned friends or the learned team, who could not avail themselves. I think one was ill. I don't know where the other one was. The other one was get to Nairobi, and they're not even outside the country. So if you look at the triviality and the way sometimes we are taken for a ride as Kenyans, if we are going to bash each other, we are not going to get anywhere, because you're angry with me for being on this side, the other person is angry with the other one for being on the other side, and yet we all want the same thing. Our energy should be now focused on which is this machine and how do we use it to get to the winner. That way, we will remember what role Churchill played. We will remember the role Boss Sholay played in this current 2022 election. We will recall the videos of who was being paid money to make changes. We will see Ngilu and Sifuna and others, getting somebody who had votes that were already marked, and then we will realize that it's not just enough to say, oh, somebody has betrayed us, somebody didn't want to be a president. We can see that there's so much that goes into elections that if we are not alive to that, it doesn't matter what we do. That's why we will count 13 million votes for 15 days. Honestly, I think, Alexio, for now, maybe that's all. There's a lot that is going in my mind, but I think.
Let me ask you something. Do you think it's high time the truth?
Can you send the link? Somebody needs a link.
I've already sent and I'll send again. Do you think it's high time the so-called the truthful man should come up and tell us exactly how they did rig the elections in Central? Because since right now he's out of the government and he wants, for the sake of the country, he wants to help this country move? Or is holding on those votes so that he can do the same to the person who will play ball with him?
I don't trust Gachagua. I think he's now using the information that he had for his own expediency. I was part of the supervisors of census way back in 1989, and I had 10 enumerators under me. And being part of that census, if you look at the trends, statistics that we have, there was this time when Mutahi Ngunyi, the tyranny of numbers, and I think that the census is manipulated, so that you prepare yourself to believe that there are some communities that have so many people, when the reality is different. The last census was 99. 2019, yeah. And you could see how it was conducted and the results when they were given. Any statistician would question some of the things that were going, that were being mentioned. And I think even Irene has mentioned it here today in the comment section, that, you even the reality of how we live ourselves, we know our numbers, even if we don't count physically, but there's a sense in which if you're told, oh, these people within a region, even you, if you're told this number of people are this much, you begin to doubt. So I think the numbers don't exist as they are, except that they've been manipulated to make people think that there are so many numbers of votes. And then there's that figure that keeps coming up, the 1.8. And I think Gachagua would want to continue to let us believe that, they are, as Mount Kenya, or the Kikuyu vote, so to speak, is a determinant factor in Kenya politics, so much so that if you don't play ball, then you're definitely bound to lose. I believe Ruto used that, but he knows the reality. That is why, because if that is the case, and he beneficiary, I don't think he would have, gone the way of letting his deputy be impeached, knowing very well that he wants a second term, and that the Mount Kenya is so crucial to the leadership, so that if you miss it, then you're certainly not going to be part of it. I think he knows the truth, and that's why he mind Gachagua being out there. Even if he reveals the truth, some of it will be like, okay, as much as you say this is what happened, you are truly an insider. So that will also play into if Ruto still is intent on vying. I think he's also looking at the fact that, anything Gachagua says, there are a lot of, apart from the whipping of tribalism that happens every so often in Kenya, there are a lot of people who will be like, everything you say, you were part of it up until your impeachment. So in that sense, I don't think it's good for him. And I remember when the rallying call was Kufa Dereva, Kufa Makanga, I was one of the people who said, if we don't have the opportunity to throw them out together at once, I don't think there's any harm in starting with one, because when you start with one, probably they will also help you to bring down the other one. And in a sense, it has happened that, Gachagua is really faulting Ruto, but this is the person he was to die for. And I think when you play that clip, you will be like, me and Ruto, we are tight. We are so tight. We are just, joined on the hip. We can't separate. And now that they're separated, he's spilling beans, and you ask yourself, is it because he thinks Ruto is a bad guy? I don't think so. He thought he was an excellent guy. I think he's spilling it so that he gains mileage for his own political expediency. Alexio?
Thank you. Nana, let's hear from you, and also elaborate on the issue about the numbers in the central, because now it seems like from 2007 until now, they have been having a secret, a secret account or a secret number of 1.2. Maybe it has gone, it's ballooned to maybe above 2 million. Those are the figures that they normally use to manipulate the elections. And the people of Central, if you are here, come up and save us, tell us what is going on. Because this thing, we are in the long run, anyway, it doesn't affect people from the other side. It's also affecting you, because as you know right now, no service delivery is being done. And had we just be honest enough and given the leadership to whoever deserves, all of us will be growing. Thank you.
Good to see you after a long time, Alexia. in a while, Furaha and Marcelina. I think in my own judgment, I think we have a very serious problem. And the problem is that we are like those that have been gone through trauma, traumatized, what's called post-traumatic stress, where you have layers of trauma that you don't know how to deal with. So you forget the one which is down underneath, then you deal with the surface one, but then it triggers what is going on down. So you find yourself immobilized. I think I don't want to appear as if I'm anti-youth, because to me, we need this youth to help us, those of us who are older, because I think sometimes we are stuck, we are extra careful, and then we miss some few things. But on the other hand, we need those hold hands. I am a scuba diver. In scuba diving, when you are going maybe under Pacific Ocean, you see there are tunnels underneath the Pacific Ocean. And you go in there and there are snakes, there are all kinds of animals in there. When you're new, you're so scared, you don't know what's happening. The good thing is that when go down there, when I was down there, I have a team of people that are specialists, young people, able to fight in there, to protect me. But usually the master diver, who sometimes was maybe a captain or a colonel, whatever, leads the way. They lead the way because they've been there. They have been there through challenges, weather change, some activities down there. And so when you're going there, you want a steady hand, somebody with that experience, that understanding, and that awareness. And I think today was a good lesson for all of us, that there was somebody called SK Macharia, and there was Baba in the same place. And my condolences to the family of our dear retired Colonel Gitahi, and may pray for his family. I think that death has revealed something to all of us as Kenyans, if we are listening. It is sad that it has to take death for SK Macharia to spill out the secret that he has been keeping for a long time, that has been burning inside of him. But it's a peek into that undersea where many of us are afraid to go. You don't want to go there, but they are master divers. They are those who have been there. And watching Baba and Macharia talk, there was something between the two of them that we knew better. Some of us have been speculating. Times we know, but we don't know. You hope it's true. And when you see this men confirming our fears, and those fears have had a toll on Kenyans. People have died. I mentioned that I traveled to Kenya to go to burials with kids I didn't know. But you go to those homes, they have got nothing. I mentioned here before, I mentioned again, we had a place where we had to borrow a place to bury one of the kids killed on the street because of election, because of people scammed, because of what this man told us is that there was an elaborate scheme to steal an election, and not just one series of them. And the repercussions are huge. Death of homes that are sunk forever. The young man or the young woman, that was the future, that's the hope. The parents struggle, and that was the one they're looking up. Those homes are gone, they have been wiped out. Many of them because of people that are full of themselves, or group of people that think very tribal, very small. And so if there is, as I said before, the devil, here has been a cahoot of devils when you think about it. Because if we agree that election is the way for us to get our leaders, and then we elect somebody, and I've heard you say it is the voice of God. God, what this is the person that we should elect. Now we understand why we are not prospering. Now we understand why parents have taken their kids to school, but they're back home. They got no jobs. They have sold all their property to send these kids home to school, and they're at home that had granaries with cows and sheep, goats are gone. You come to Kenya, you go to homes that once you knew, they are dry, poverty everywhere, death everywhere. Now we know why Kenyans have died, why Kenyans are angry. Now we have pointed our finger to the right place. And thank God for Macharia. His friend had to die. And thank God for his friend, because they had agreed that whoever died first will spill the beans, okay? And now he has no partner but to be able to face Kenyans and say, this is what happened. It is not somebody else, but it's himself. He said he was taken from his home and he went there to watch that happen. And we don't know the kind of threat this man had. But thank God for men like this man. Thank God the men that are not tribal, integrity that I think, next year you mentioned, a man of integrity, and he's one of the people that we can look up to as a man of integrity, and his friend. And so I think as Kenyans, because I know we get news like this, and then next week we are on something else. It's over and we don't deal with it. And it's as if we have all been traumatized to the point where we don't know how to handle truth. We can't handle truth. And this truth should lead somewhere, into something that can save this nation, because things are not well. Okay. So my contribution here, panel members, is that at the end of the day, it is us, wananchi. And our young people, don't go to sleep. Stand, but stand on truth, not on what people say, because there are a lot of rumor mongering, and there are so many untrue stuff going out there, and we take them as truth. So we say we know the truth. This is the truth, when actually those are lies. Okay, Baba won, definitely did. Stolen from him. Yes, it was stolen from him. Can we do something about it? Yes, we can, because I don't think law die, and law just dies like that. Truth dies, they don't. And we can use that to save ourselves. But if we just bury it in the back somewhere, I'm telling you, it's going to unearth again. We're going to have a generation that will basically look at that script and choose a path that we are not very happy with. We are seeing young people, they are angry, and they rightly so, because we duped them because of this action that we are talking about. So why can't we take a step and correct things. I think you stated it clearly. Let this be a week of what? A week of facing the truth.
Confessions.
Confession.
Mm-hmm.
And willingness to
say the truth.
To say the truth, not just say it, because sometimes saying it is trusting people and using it for other purposes. Okay, but we don't say. I think the word is repent, because the difference between confession, you can confess, but so what? You do. But if you are willing to embrace truth and let it guide you, let it guide us as Kenyans, especially the leadership. And so we appeal to Baba. We know we are asking you a lot to do, but you are in a unique position. You chose to be there to help us see what has been hidden from us. We want to see it, want to know it, and let Kenyans deal with it in a more humane way, in a more caring way, in a more loving way, but in a more truthful way, so that justice means something, especially those people who have been killed and those people that are willing to embrace truth. I think every one of us has a bit of blame. Let us face the truth and follow the law, and let us love each other and get our nation back. Back to you, Alexio.
Just before you finish up, I have a feeling that God works miraculously, because it is not Macharia who has gone to be with the Lord. I was just wondering if it was Macharia who was going to be with the Lord, and now Gitahi is supposed to want to say this. Do you think Kenyan would have believed, or would it have generated more interest like the way it does right now?
No. And it's no because, one, Macharia has the recognition. People know him more. So I think his words are weightier. His experience is known. Gitai would have spoken the truth, but Kenyans are very dismissive. You'll hear words like, oh, anazungumza tu hakujua alikuwa wapi. You know, that's how Kenya are. We are in denial. And that denial is what is killing us. And I'm not even sure whether we will take this the way it's supposed to, because that's you and I are looking at it this way. But some people out there, they don't see what we see. And I pray that God can open their eyes to see, because this is where our problem comes from. This is what has kept Kenya in this particular condition for a long time. We don't face the truth, and we don't want to see it because it's too ugly for us. Imagine, just imagine this. Okay, all those, I think 1,000 who died, whether in Rift Valley or those places, other places, someone designed this, and now we know why they died. So if God would come back and each one of us, because lines of people behind us, people that we have killed, you'll be shocked, because this is serious. It's serious. Kenyans died. And you know what? They are driving huge cars. They are the one deciding, decisions for the nation. They are the one that we clap to. These people who did who killed us. That's the implication, because in Kenya, most of us only think when you throw a stone and kill somebody, you've killed someone. How about the one who took this guy throwing the stone, took his food and his medical service and everything around him, and to the point where he doesn't have anything? Does that person have responsibility? Yes, they do. In other words, those who are creating poverty, these are people creating death. For them, they are the holy one. They go to church, they give money, the donations in churches. I mean, I don't want to go ahead on and on and on, but you can see the implication. It's deep, it's dark, it's ugly, it's bad. And that's what Kenya's become. People that have no conscience, planning this. And if we don't do anything, they're planning for the next election. People are planning to die. We are talking about IEBC chair choosing here and there. Those are death traps. Basically, that's what we are doing, because you're planning death of our people. And do we get anything out of them? No. Things go worse. And then we call it an election. Because we are waiting for, and we are paying for them, for people who are murdering us. And as you stated, in the US, which I know, there's no extra money given, because Secretary of State is a government official, is like a person there. Their job is to run the election. And then they're volunteers. We pay them, I don't know, a very little minimum wages. It's part of the sacrifice that you give to your nation. It's one of the services that you offer your nation. So we don't spend any money on election. It's the same money, So for us Kenyans who are very poor, yet we're using a lot of money in election, when more people, US, you're talking of 300 million in population, and here in Kenya we only are talking about less than 20 million, and we can't count even those votes. And then we have people earning amount of money called national chair. We don't have them in the US. There's nothing called national. You elect somebody in your constituency or in your state, okay? And when that is done, it's done, okay? So if there's a problem, it's a very localized problem. You can hold a nation while you're focusing on what? In Muranga or in Homa Bay or in Kisumu, and clear it when others are fine. That's why election is rapid, is quickly, is clean. You go in there and there's a track record. If there's a dispute, you can go back. In fact, Trump at one time, I think last election, claimed the first election, and no, this last one, yes, the first one, claimed when he lost that he was rigged. And they went back and counted all the places where he complained. And actually, there was zero. Only one person who was voted, who tried to rig and voted actually for Biden. I think that's Biden time, okay? In other words, election can be so efficient that if there is a problem, we can go back and look at it. The same, I'm sure even M-Pesa, you can go into the bank and check everything with this technology we have. So for Kenyans even to tell us election has been, stolen when technology is there and we use so much money, it's a joke. This is a joke. This is and we accept it. That's why I'm saying the problem is us. We should not accept it. And I'm sorry for I know it's died, Chebukati, but God knows how this system that he led has hurt Kenyans. All those deaths were necessary if you are doing what you're supposed to do. Unnecessary. So at the end, Chebukati will have to answer, and this group and this team, okay? To Marwan and the rest, whatever you call them, their names are, plus the political leadership that know this thing, whatever the Kamagos and others coming in to touch our election, and people are okay with it. Where on earth would a foreign, nobody knows, access into election? Already that one act was enough to nullify an election. So it's sad that we are still at this stage in our political development as Kenyans, and some of us feel so frustrated and angry and mad when we see things like this happen. Back to you, my brother. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. Just to touch about Chebukati, even if he has gone mbele za haki, I think the idea of somebody coming to tell us he was an honest man should not arise at all, and should not be there at all, because in 2017, the election that he conducted was nullified by the Supreme Court. We saw it, and even the repeat election wasn't better. And then in 2022, he printed 2 forms 34B, 2 of them. So that's not integrity.
Yes.
Yes, that's not integrity. So somebody should not come and tell us he was an honest man. Because if you are an honest man, then you need to do things according to the law, what the law says. And printing 2 form 34B, that's not integrity. So those Wakinaruto say they should shut up.
I'm sorry, he was not honest at all. He should have been more clear to Kenya. He was not honest. He put secrecy and clear stuff going. Chebukati was not honest, period.
Okay, we don't want to pass judgment, but whatever he did to this country, I don't know. He is now before the supreme authority. He can answer it there. Okay. Mama, do you have something, or I played the video for the ODM guys? I think I'll play it.
I'm joined tonight by Yula Nzale, our sign language interpreter. Electoral integrity in the country took center stage in Machakos County, and this was during the burial of retired Colonel James Gitahi, husband of nominated Senator Betty Montet. ODM leader Raila Odinga said the country has been holding sham elections since 2007, claiming he has always won in those elections and is rigged out, with the exception of the 2002 poll. As Stephen Leto reports, Odinga used the stage to mount a defense of his memorandum of understanding with President William Ruto, terming it a move to safeguard the interests of the country.
As family, friends and relatives gathered in Manzoni for the burial of Colonel retired James Gitahi, politics was on the menu as former Premier Raila Odinga walked in. During the speeches, electoral integrity took center stage, with Raila telling mourners that the country has been holding shambolic elections where votes cast do not count, Raila insisting that he has been winning the elections but getting elbowed out when it's time to declare the winner.
Uchaguzi ambayo imekuwa naitwa free and fair tangu tulete hii mfumo wa siasa yenye vyama vingi ni 2002. Hiyo peke yake. Hizi zingine zote unajua SK mwambie nyinyi. SK mwambie nyinyi. Kwa hivyo mimi usimwambie mimi nataka mimi nishinde. Mimi sashinda mara mingi. Sijatangazwa tu.
Raila revisited the 2022 general elections, insisting he had won, but President William Ruto was declared winner. Odinga raising doubts about the electoral body, IEBC.
Mwaka juzi tulikuwa nasema fungeni sava. Tulisema fungeni sava. Maana tulikuwa najua ndani ya sava kuna ukweli. Walifungua. Lakini muhimu ni kwamba Kenya ni mkubwa kushinda sisi zote.
Questions on the integrity of the country's voter register also came to the fore, with concerns of duplicates and failure by the electoral body IEBC to fully clean up the register to remove dead voters who continue to pile up in the national voter register.
This is what I would ask for President Ruto to do for us, to have a new voter register and to make sure that the next election, whoever gets elected will be elected by Kenyans by casting votes.
Raila made a strong case for his MOU with President William Ruto and the UDA party, saying ODM signed the MOU to help the country settle down to work and put to an end the prolonged electioneering mood.
Unasema Ruto aende, aende alafu nani ifanyike? Mbele pale Ruto aende aweke Gachagua. Sasa Ruto aende, Kindiki aende abaki pale. Baadaye Kindiki aende weke mtu mwingine. Hakuna haja. 2027 itafika. Lakini Wakenya wako na shida mpaka ya shida yatatuliwe sasa. Sio siku nyingine.
Iwapo Mkenya mwingine yoyote atachukuliwa na polisi ati abducted afichiwe mahali, chama cha UDA na kiongozi wake William Ruto watakuwa wamekeuka mkataba ambao tumeandikisha.
The only problem is that some of that marking scheme does not belong to Raila and Ruto. Like disbursing money to County Sifuna, that is your job and my job. That one we must do.
Raila lamented high cost of living and the general poor state of the economy for Kenyans, saying they must live in between elections and refuse to play ball, even when baited by Murang'a Senator John Nyuto.
You can only become president if you run in 2027. Gachagua is ready to support you.
Sio lazima Raila simame. Raila vile anaweza kukaa nyumbani. Umesema Raila ni mzee sana. Sio unasema Raila ni mzee sana. Baba endelea siendelee.
Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Now mambo ndio hayo. So to close a little bit, to say something about that about vile Raila alimjibu, answered John Nyotu. Yes, the issue is not about you running. The issue is about the integrity of the elections. Because if it's already Raila has run for so many times, and he has never been declared the election winner. So maybe we should start by looking at, we reform it and get it to make it to have free and fair elections, so that whoever comes in and whoever contests for the election can be given the seat according to what the Kenyans voted, not what the so-called those who have been bought in the election commission that have declared a winner who is not the interest of the country or the interest of the majority of voters. So, okay, Mama Selina, do you have something?
Did you say something?
Yeah, you can say.
Yeah, let Reverend Lala say. I have already done with it today.
Okay, thank you.
Did you call me or just?
Yes, you can proceed, Lala.
Oh, okay. I think I've also shared what I thought I needed to share. As I stated that the country needs us, and it needs those older guys to give us a better understanding of what we are just working with, or we are faced with, because they were there, they were part of it. They knew the bad and the good. And so it is important for us, the younger generation, to work hand in hand with progressive-minded fellas, those who with integrity, as has been stated here, and that way we will save our nation. Let us not be quick to come to conclusion before really stepping back and thinking and understanding what really is going on, what we have experienced in the past. That funeral was a true revelation to many of us, because for a long time you hear a lot of these people have the audacity to speak, carelessly, showing basically their ignorance, things they don't know, things that we don't know. Yet there are a lot of things that need to be known, and demanding that they are known, I think is okay, it's good. That is it's your country, it's my country, we need to know. And if the people duped us, I think they should own to their mistakes or their sin, but we can't just ignore what we have experienced in the past just because it is done. I think there's some parts of it that directly implicates all of us, people that we deal with. So let us be good students of Kenya. Above all, it's a time to look for opportunities for us to be able to face the truth, but in a loving and a caring way, not compromising the truth, not shutting people's mouths to speak because everybody disagree with them, but making sure that you respectfully listen to even someone that disagree with, if what they're talking about is truth. Because I think you must agree with me that the lies have been a little bit too much, half truths, sensationalism, where people say and act in a way that to me is very, very sad. Okay. So let's be reminded that honor is needed, respect is needed, and then we can truly save, the Kenya we love very much. I think that's all I would like to say for the time being. As I stated earlier, I'm not repeating myself, but I just emphasizing it, that there are souls that are basically crying out to us. There are children that need your support and my support. And the only way for us to support them is to make sure that they have a space, a place where they can support themselves, where they can grow up, where they can develop their skills. So we have a nation to build, and all of us must be engaged in nation building. I speak because, one, I'm a Kenyan. Two, because I've not been engaged in corruption in Kenya. I've not stolen anybody's job, anybody's thing. So I feel I have a voice to share my frustrations, but I want to be engaged. I contribute in so many ways, whether it is through this forum, I contribute through helping somebody, a young person out there, contribute, and that is the way to do it. All of us must begin to do it. And to me, watching that funeral tells me that there are people like Macharia whom we can count on, whom we can say these are old men of integrity, because what I've been hearing is old people should go home. We don't need them. We can deliver Kenya. And the people talking are actually children who have benefited from the same, resources that either their parents got for them, jobs that are bought, corrupt business deals and all that. So we are recipients. That's what I'm saying. All of us have been touched. All of us are part of the rot that we have in the nation. It is upon all of us to, the way Macharia said it, let us also speak the truth, and let us be willing to shy away from deals that are not right for us in the nation. Korea had a crisis at one point. The economy was falling, South Korea, that is. And you know what? Their leader went out there to ask for help. And almost every Korean donated. Though some of them took their wedding rings, they donated to the government. If you can Google, find out. And everyone rallied for their nation, and they saved their nation at that time, okay? Because they saw that was the only way to have a country called Korea. For us to have a country called Kenya, it will take more than Ruto must go. It must be all of us doing something, standing for truth. Macharia is our hero. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Lala. For the young people, I just want to tell you there are a lot of old men, a few old men who are left here who stand for something, not those who stand or who fall for anything, and then who can be counted upon. And then we need to look upon them and emulate them, learn from the best. Those who are doing the correct thing, we learn from them. Those who are doing the bad things, we need to shun them. I know it's been a long journey and they're feeling the pain. For some of us, maybe we fail to feel that pain, but it has been a struggle. So if we're gonna join hands, all of us, then we can definitely make this Kenya a better country for all of us to live in. And then the way to go is integrity, ask for integrity, you yourself give out integrity, perform the right thing at the right time. And then the other things we need to reform these elections completely, that we, in the upcoming election, we should not be having agents. For somebody, if you are running for election, just run for election without agents, so that the counting is done. If IEBC gonna hire people, the clerks on what, those clerks should be able to have integrity and do the right thing, count the votes, announce the correct winner. The right winner should be announced and nothing less. So let's continue piling on pressure. Let's reform this country. Once we reform it and we do the correct thing, I'm very sure we can be able to go far away from, and we can be able to do great things in our land. Because right now, our land is crying for leadership. We don't have leadership. Those who are there, they are just actually, I don't know how to describe them, but they are not leaders, because the leader carries the aspiration of the country into the future. A leader is supposed to carry the future of the country. But if I check and see around, I don't see the future in those leadership. I don't see the future in Ruto. I don't see the future in Sakaja. If a whole governor can be asking about the machine of making chapati, and there are a lot of problems that needs to be solved in Nairobi. Like right now, Nairobi, the sewage system that Nairobi is using is the colonial one. We should be looking to create a new sewage system. So because Nairobi has grown, the population has grown. We should be looking into going to the metros, going to the underpasses, going to subways, those are the things that we need, because Nairobi is growing and the population keep on increasing. Yes, not looking about the chapati. As we wind up, Furaha.
I think integrity is the rallying call, because even the aspect of voter register, whether it has dead people or not, even if IEBC registration was to close at a very late date, the way death works is that, on the voting day, there could be some voters who passed on just on the eve of the voting. So the question is not having that name there. The question is, how is it that that name ends up voting? If that person is dead, that name can be in the register, but there will not be a vote to it because the person is dead. So integrity is what ends up that, I am dead, and yet for some reason, I still cast my vote because somebody lacks integrity enough to use me, who has passed on, to add numbers to somebody because they want somebody to win. You see how much now that word is coming, to the fore, that it's the integrity that is lacking. That is why we are struggling, that, you vote and you have to protect your vote and you have to count 1,000 votes for 2 days, just because, somebody wants a specific outcome. And we are not integral enough to just, be genuine. Because even as Kenyans, I believe we also play a role, in a country where we are duplicating things. You go with your ID, you get your voter card, you register in those kits, your thumbprints are there. How do you even get, we have so many checks and balances for this one person. You have your ID, you have your card, you have your fingerprints, and still, somebody who is dead will vote. Do they take the fingerprints of the dead people so that, it can, register in the KIMS kit and then also have the vote? So in the cleaning of the voter register, it is, I think, the additional numbers and the casting of votes not cast count, and those that are cast do not count, because we don't have integrity. We are not honest enough to be able to do the right thing at the right time and in the manner that is required of us. That is why our struggle continues to go beyond, just the leaders and just the people that we have in place, because we also play a role. The honesty that is being talked about, Chebukati. First of all, if you're honest and there's an interview that has taken place and you're not the best person, why are you even taking that position? If somebody beat you to it, they beat you to it. Decline, decline and say, I am number 8. How am I even being the chair of this commission? And the Ezra Chilobas, all these things that have happened. And in our country, we went to the courts, and people whom we trust, who are the last people in line for our elections, the people who can save us, are compromised enough to just make statements that are neither here nor there. Hot air, I don't know what balloons, I don't know all those things that are so demeaning. And yet we are putting out very sound arguments. We are putting out a president led by the Maina Kiai contention, that, is Chebukati the only person who can make a statement? Then why are you having the other commissioners? That Rosalind Akombe resigned, and after her, even the people that she left there ended up resigning. But we are still saying Chebukati is this person that are we saying that all these other people were faulty? They were people whose opinions do not count, and yet we know that team, out of that team, any one of them had the caliber of becoming the chair of that commission. That's why they are equal commissioners. Then you select one of them. One of them becomes the chair. But all the commissioners should have the capability of being able to be chairpersons of the IEBC. But we had 4 people resigning. The same is repeated. They're all saying that this person does not work with them, that he's adamant, that he doesn't take advice from them. And there's only a set of people who are in the secretariat whom he works with. And these people have been here through some of the faulty elections, the one that was nullified, the one that was a repeat and a sham. And we keep on saying that, you know, Chebukati is okay. And Kenyans, we sit back and we say, you know, so long as it's our person, it doesn't matter what happened, it doesn't matter what lengths we go to, so long as, you know, we've won the election. And we even rile it up other Kenyans. We are like, and then the struggle comes and we are all in it. We are all suffering. The same thing happened when we chose, you know, the digital team of Uhuru and Ruto. And then Ruto, Tano Tena, and the suffering continues. And we seem not to care. We are not integral enough to care that, you know, it can't be that our person is there and we are suffering. And I kept on saying, oh, to the people who say, oh, after all, Baba hajawahi kuwa president na hatawahi kuwa president. I said, to hell with that presidency. If this is what it turns people into, you know, Ruto seemed to you to be somebody who had his senses. We saw him, you know, in the presidential what are they called, where they were being asked questions, those campaigns, the presidential debate.
Debate, yeah.
Yeah, the debates. And, you know, even Uhuru was just standing and he's the one who was doing all the debating. And this other one, they said, oh, he outshone Baba and all the other candidates. But now, if this is what Ruto can offer, now that he's the president, this is all he can offer on rooftops, walking around and promising and promising and promising. And figures, you know, he's good with figures. Nakwambia, 15 million, 3 billion, 2 billion. He just throws figures around. And when you sit back and you calculate, it just does not even add up because of our budgets and the shortfalls. You know it's not working. But he lies and he doesn't even mind stating even the figures. Hata afadhali angesema tu nitawafanyia. He goes ahead to state the figures. You do the addition. The mathematics doesn't add up because, you know, what is our budget? What is available for health and for all these other sectors? So where is he going to get this money? Is it his personal money? So I think Kenyans, we are a reflection of the leaders that we choose because these people come from us. And I think if we are going to get good leaders, we also have to be genuine in whom we choose and we front to be the people who are going to represent us. And also once we have chosen them, to make them accountable. You know, if we are tired of Ruto the way we are, you know, then we would be able to rally our MPs to impeach him because the numbers would be there. But we can't do that because first of all, I don't know, we like our person so much that we don't even want him to go, even when he's not serving us right. And also the politicians have their own interests because this would be the time, you know, having the numbers, if there's a lack of performance and if we were working integrally the way we are talking about, and so we are not in bed with the executive as the legislature, we would be able to take Ruto home with our numbers. And lastly, I also think that there's a sense in which the courts also, you know, they've failed us a lot. So every arm of government, in a sense, has played into this, and also us, because the moment we are so keen to have our own person in leadership or as the president of this country, I just want to recall the documentary I saw a few days back where you have Baringo, and anybody who knows Baringo, it has, you know, there's some areas that have some of the highest levels of poverty. And so if they had a president for 24 years, and this was a president who alikuwa akinguruma, you know, a very strong presidency, a very strong president, if I may say, and yet his region has some of the, the highest levels of poverty, then the question becomes, is it even in our interest for your person to be the president? Then in that case, if I was fronting Baba because he comes from my region, then there's no need, because even if he were to become a president, it might not work for us, just the way it hasn't worked for all these people who have had presidents for years and years. Because then it boils down to, what will this person do for you? How is he going to put systems that work for everyone? Because if it doesn't, I think that's part of the reason, devolution was, was interesting, because at some point, you'd rather just concentrate on your governor. If they're working for you, then you might not even mind who is the president of the country nationally, because your devolved government is delivering. So let's strengthen devolution if it's possible, for those who are chosen to work for their people. Then all this drive that takes us to want to get rid of our brothers creates hatred that you can't even place. You go to a hospital and you're in need of surgery, Alexio, and you lay on that table and you are under anesthesia. You could wake up, you might not wake up, and you don't even care that it's an Otieno or a Mugambi or whoever it is that is working on you, so long as you get alive. You go to school and you don't care. In fact, you like it if it's somebody who is renowned to be an expert in that area, who is disseminating knowledge to you. You don't mind. But when it comes to the country, suddenly this person who you can trust with your life on a surgery table, suddenly you cannot trust them, to run a country. You see, those are the struggles that as Kenyans we have to continue to ask ourselves. What is this about politics that when, kama ni gari yangu, I can trust Onyango with it, But if it comes to the presidency, suddenly Onyango, it's about this culture and that culture, and they're not able to lead this country. We can't trust them with leadership. Same with other communities. What is this? When are we going to get liberated? I hope our young people and the Gen Zs, even as much as they talk about tribeless and leaderless and partyless, they are also going to be able to overcome some of the practices that have kept us stuck and getting very bad leaders that we do not even deserve. Alexio, I think that's where I end my submission.
Thank you very much. You're saying the correct thing. And also, what I'm failing to understand, I don't know, this Uhuru and Ruto. By the day change, we had Vision 2030. That was a framework. It was like, what can I call it? Was something that was designed actually to take Kenya to the next level. So every president and the government coming in should have just stuck on that path, so that we can see Vision 2030. By that time, Kenya will be a second world, or whatever we wanted to achieve. Because I do believe that was something that the leadership then had put in a lot of research, and then seen that if we follow this path, then we're gonna get to the next level. So those people coming up with their own thing, now we have veered off from that path. So I don't know when we shall get there. Okay. So in our closing remark, Mama Selina, your time to submit a closing remark. If you don't have, then you can hand over to Lala.
What did you say, Alexia?
We are just doing our closing remark.
Okay, closing remarks. Sure. Faraha, Mama Selena, and Alexio, plus others in the background. I think when you're running a relay or running a long race, it just doesn't start and end quickly. You need strategy, you need perseverance, you need to go or follow the truth, the rules. I think as Kenyans, we have been known for long distance races, which require a lot of training, and that has given us a good reputation around the globe. Wherever you are, they know who Kenyans are. They are those that are into short race. Last week I was in Jamaica, and there's some time on the streets there, and they got my Kenyan bangles, and they say from Kenya, and so we talk about race, and there's some liking for Kenyans for what they have accomplished. But on the other hand, I think we at times want quick things. We want easy things, and easy things are not good. One of the problems that we have had is that we allowed even Ruto and Uhuru after the Hague issue. They were not ready even to lead, but because of our tribal nature, because they wanted to take leadership to either save themselves, we kind of shortcut, the process and give them leadership, and so they had to, of course, do what they had to do to lead a nation, but emotionally, politically, and even mentally, they were not in the right frame of mind to take over the nation. And when we give countries to people who can't run it, there's always internal pressure and external pressure, problems from inside and outside. The outsiders simply want to take advantage of the weakness or the need of a president. So they give you sometimes loans that are very expensive. You find yourself stuck with them because you're desperate. In our desperation, I think we went up, piling debts that is really choking the nation because we had bad leadership. The country that should have been going up after Kibaki, okay, we find ourselves stuck. Our neighbors are passing us. They are on line 2, crossing over, passing us, when actually we should have been the one leading. But based on what we see around the globe, whether it's tourism, Tanzania is the first destination. They love it, especially from the US and others. Everybody wants to go to Tanzania. Rwanda is doing marvelously, okay? Somalia, of all the places, is growing. If you look at the economic index around us, it seems as if we are the slowest. And so leadership matters. And right now, all of us must be leaders. Every Kenyan must be a leader. We can't just let those that have ruined our lives continue to do what they do. And let's join those that we believe are fighting for us. And I think Baba fit into this this model, because we can look at his life, and I'm yet to hear of a scandal around Baba. I'm yet to hear of theft of public funds and all that from Baba. I see someone who is helpless, always doing something for somebody else, I don't know Baba that well, but I had a chance to have a dinner with him in Washington, D.C. And there was a young lady who was manhandled. In that moment, Baba could not even eat. He stopped and because he couldn't watch somebody else being manhandled. And that's the kind of spirit that I think Kenyans must cultivate within ourselves. Selfless, sacrifice and integrity that can help us make it across the lane. When war is tough, when things are rough, you need a steady hand. You need someone who can face the enemy, who can take you deep. As I mentioned, under the ocean, where nobody has been. You want somebody who has been there to guide you. And I think we are blessed for us to have somebody like Baba around us, because as a young people, we are excited. We know we have the energy. We want truth and all that, and we can easily go overboard. We are not careful. But overall, I'm grateful tonight for all of
Lala,
you.
check on your mic.
Thank God for the nation. Let's pray for
Your
Kenya.
mic, Lala.
May God bless us. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Oh, okay, bye-bye. Thank you too. Mama Selina, your closing remark? Okay. I would like to appreciate all of the people who have been on the show. Those on the comment section and those watching us, kindly like the video. And those who have been on the panel this evening, I appreciate you so much. And thank you for your discussion, your candid discussion. All we are doing here, it for the betterment of our country. Because we don't have any other where to go, but we like to see the country succeed, and we like to see the best woman, the best man in the position, not that like the way they do interviews. So interviews are being done of IEBC. Let the best be selected, and whoever has topped. Even if I've seen there are 11 guys who have shortlisted to become chair. So let the interviews go on, and the best person to be selected, not any other person. Because I do understand even the interviews for the Supreme Court Chief Justice, the current Chief Justice we have, she was not the best. So let's try and do the right thing. Let the best woman, the best man get that position. That's what I would like to leave you with. As we go to sleep, I want to say thank you very much, and let's do this again. Bye-bye.
So hiyo story mko nayo ati iko shida, hiyo ni yenu na mtangoja. Hakuna shida itakuweko kwa hii serikali ya William Ruto, kwa sababu William Ruto na mimi kwanza ni Wakristo, mabibi zetu ni mapasta. Sasa sisi ni watu ya Mungu. We pray to God every day to give us guidance. And I want to tell you people, my relationship with the president is beyond the presidency, is beyond governance, is beyond leadership. Ours is a friendship of 25 years. We are family people. President William Ruto is my brother. we enjoy such a good relationship that issues of governance and leadership can never even come our way. So hiyo mwende mwadike sande vile